Chapter 3058. This junior sister seems to have a good relationship with Wang Xian. Hearing the conversation here, Bingling Hongtu turned his gaze over with a cold glint in his eyes. Of course. Big brother Wang saved my life not long ago. I know you guys. I wanted to snatch the wild beasts from us, but Big brother Wang killed me instead. Mi Xin Lu looked at Bingling Hongtu and said with a smile. Bingling Hongtu and the rest narrowed their eyes when they heard Mi Xin Lu's words. Hee, all right, let's go. Senior brother gentleman looked at them and tried to resolve the situation. It won't be long before that Wang Xian disappears from this world. Bingling Hongtu roared with a cold expression. Mi Xin Lu pouted. Hee, junior sister, come here. Since you've joined Willow Deity Dao Ground, we're a family. A middle-aged woman waved at Mi Xin Lu. Sorry senior sister, I don't join any forces. Mi Xin Lu looked at the middle-aged woman and said directly. Haha, senior sister is also an unaffiliated cultivator. I cultivate with a group of sisters and learn from each other. The middle-aged woman laughed and explained. All right. Mi Xin Lu smiled and nodded her head. Sorry senior sister. It's fine. The middle-aged woman shook her head. In Willow Deity Dao Ground, most of the senior brothers and sisters are good people. Who is that Wang Xian? What's the situation? Long Zitian asked the old man beside him. Young Master Long, not long ago, a new disciple of the Willow Deity Dojo had a conflict with a few disciples of the Ice Mountain tribe. In just a year, he killed 5 disciples of the Willow Deity Dojo, as well as a large number of experts of the Ice Mountain tribe. The old man whispered. Oh, how strong is that new disciple? He killed 5 disciples of Willow Deity Dao Ground. Isn't he a little too reckless? Long Zitian asked curiously. He seems to be a 9th Order God Emperor. He's fast. The old man replied. That Ice Mountain tribe shouldn't have lost so many people to a 9th Order God Emperor, right? Long Zitian asked indifferently. The Ice Mountain tribe attacked twice, but he escaped. He's probably going to be killed soon. The old man said with a smile. A 9th Order God Emperor realm cultivator dares to be so arrogant. Unless he doesn't step out of the Willow Deity Dao Plaza, we won't be able to protect him. Long Zitian said indifferently. The group arrived at Yu Hai Tavern. Within the Willow Deity Daoist grounds, the disciples of the various races were in a group. There were also quite a few unaffiliated people. The men were basically led by the gentleman's senior brother, while the women had a larger group. Among the group of over 30 female students, the strongest had the strength of a 9th Order God Emperor. As soon as the Mi Xin deer arrived, it was immediately pulled into that small group. Because there were no conflicts of interest, nor were there any racial standpoints, everyone got along well. Just as the Mi Xin deer joined the Willow Deity Daoist field, Wang Xian had already arrived at an ice mountain belonging to the iceberg race. Dragon King, this is the residence of the Ice Mountain tribe's patriarch's grandson. This grandson is a 9th Order God Emperor realm expert. His prestige in the Ice Mountain tribe is very high. In a luxurious room, 2 old men stood in front of Wang Xian and spoke with smiles. How much information do you have? Wang Xian's eyes flickered as he asked. Dragon King, the iceberg race has 8 peak God Emperor realm experts and 39th Order God Emperor realm experts. They also have a Hutian treasure, the Frost Sword. Currently, the Frost Sword is in the hands of the iceberg race's patriarch. One of the old men from the 8 branches parasitic beasts said. 12-inch, have you obtained any resources from them? How much do you need for one of you to break through? Wang Xian asked. Dragon King, we have quite a lot of information. However, if you want me or 8 branches parasitic beasts to break through to the peak God Emperor realm, I'm afraid it's still a long way off. We need at least 7 to 8 9th Order God Emperor realm corpses. Demon Fiend pondered for a moment before replying. Let's not take any action for now. If one of you can break through to the peak God Emperor realm, it will be much easier to parasitize the iceberg race's patriarch. Wang Xian said. Both Demon Fiend and 8 branches parasitic beasts nodded their heads in agreement. It's not good for us to kill all the 9th Order God Emperor realm experts of the iceberg race. Otherwise, it will arouse suspicion. Leave it to me. I'll take care of the resources for you to break through. Wang Xian pondered for a moment before replying. Now that his strength had reached the peak God Emperor realm, it was time for him to explore some dangerous places. All right, Dragon King. We'll stay here for now. Both Demon Fiend and 8 branches parasitic beasts nodded their heads. Wang Xian nodded his head and looked at Enlai. Enlai brought him away immediately. Since we're going to annihilate the iceberg race, we'll have to give them a fatal blow. Be fully prepared. Enlai brought Wang Xian to the surface of the Milky Way. He looked behind him before flying deeper into the Milky Way. The Milky Way Black Domain. A lone island on the Milky Way Sea. Milky Way Volcano Domain. Various places flashed across his mind. Wang Xian switched on the AI and locked on to the volcano domain. The Milky Way volcano domain was a sea of lava. Below it was a huge cluster of volcanoes. The volcanoes erupted all year round and the seawater there was red. A large number of aquatic beasts lived there. Among them, there were many peak God Emperor realm and 9th order God Emperor realm beasts. His destination was the volcano domain. Wang Xian flew at a terrifying speed. After more than 10 hours, Wang Xian felt a heatwave coming from the front. He squinted his eyes and a fiery red sea appeared in his vision. The sea was tumbling and it was boiling hot water. There was even some lava floating on it. Wang Xian's figure flickered and a layer of fiery red dragon scales covered his entire body. He stepped on the sea and continued flying forward. After flying for another hour, Wang Xian stopped. The density and strength of the beasts here are much higher than other places. Wang Xian thought to himself as he sensed the auras coming from below. The fishing rod appeared in his hand. With a wave of his arm, the dragon blood condensed into an arowana and flew down. After his strength increased, Wang Xian's coverage area had increased significantly. He could cover a radius of 1.2 billion kilometers. The arowana entered the volcano domain and swam around. Soon, it attracted the attention of many beasts. 5 8th order God Emperor realm beasts. There are indeed many high-level beasts here. It won't be long before I can gather all the resources needed for Orokai and the rest. Wang Xian sensed the beasts below and his eyes lit up. Dragon eyes lock. Sensing the rapid gathering of the wild beasts below, Wang Xian shook his body and launched several terrifying chains towards the wild beasts. First net. Chapter 3059. Meeting, Fairy Dragon Clan 2-inch tame. He managed to capture over 200 God Emperor realm beasts in one go, and 4 of them were 8th order God Emperor realm beasts. With the enhancement of his strength, the dragon power on Wang Xian was stronger and the speed of taming was much faster. 10 days later, Wang Xian went fishing for the second time. Huang Xiaolong's luck was not as good as the first time, but he still encountered an 8th order God Emperor realm wild beast. Wang Xian was pleasantly surprised. At this rate, it wouldn't take more than 2 months for one of them to reach the peak Emperor God level. If their luck is good, they might be able to catch a few 9th order God Emperor realm beasts, and they might be able to break through to the peak of the God Emperor realm. Wang Xian mumbled to himself as he tamed the wild beast that he had fished for the second time. As he swung his fishing rod, the arowana formed from dragon blood swam rapidly beneath him. Zizi, it's not good for us to sneak out like this. If we encounter humans or powerful desolate beasts, we will be in trouble. Xiao Ari, what are you afraid of? This time, I have brought Uncle Earth's dragon scale. The pressure on it is sufficient to prevent peak stage God Emperor desolate beasts from attacking us. Furthermore, we are only going to get some food. The Milky Way is so big, how can it be so easy to meet humans? At the same time, 2 demons were chatting under the Milky Way not far away from Wang Xian. The demon beasts looked very strange. They had the upper body of a human and the lower body of a dragon. Their faces looked very beautiful. Their round eyes looked around, and they were obviously very excited. All right then. I'm going to be bored to death if I stay down there all day. This volcano region's aura is so uncomfortable. The figure on the left also nodded excitedly. Quick, let's go get some water fire fruits to eat. We haven't tasted any delicacies in a long time. It's all because of those hateful humans, the other figure said, and the two of them swam forward quickly. Zizi, look ahead, there are so many desolate beasts there. There are even 2 8th Order God Emperor realm beasts. Why are there so many desolate beasts gathered here? At this moment, Little Grief, who was on the left, sensed the movement in front of her. She stretched out her finger in surprise. Suddenly, her eyes lit up and she shouted, "Look, why is there a blood-red fish there?" That's true. Those desolate beasts are all attracted by the blood-red fish. Let's go take a look. Zizi, who was on the right, swayed his dragon tail and immediately went over. Be careful, there's an 8th Order God Emperor realm wild beast over there. What's there to be afraid of? We have Uncle Two's dragon scales. An 8th Order God Emperor realm desolate beast wouldn't dare to attack us. As they spoke, they flew forward curiously. Do you feel it? Zizi, why do I feel an attractive force coming from my bloodline? What is that? It's the divine dragon bloodline. It's the divine dragon bloodline. Xiao Ari, that's a fish with the divine dragon bloodline. Why does that red fish contain such a thick divine dragon bloodline? The two of them widened their eyes and looked at each other with passion in their eyes. Could this be fishing bait? Humans often use treasures to fish. Isn't this fish a little strange? The bloodline of a divine dragon. Who would be willing to use such a precious treasure as bait? This small fish's bloodline should have returned to its ancestral state. It's possible. Let's capture him and let Chief Uncle Two and Sister Sun have a look when we return. As the two of them chatted, they quickly chased after the arowana and flew upwards. Hualala. But at this time, chains suddenly extended from above. The speed of the chains was terrifying. Even an 8th Order God Emperor realm desolate beast was bound in an instant. Not good. Zizi and Xiao Ari's faces changed when they saw the chains that suddenly appeared. We're finished. Looking at the approaching chains, they didn't have the slightest bit of strength to resist. The terrifying force had bound them. Use Uncle Two's dragon scales to block it. We can escape back to our god kingdom in an instant. Xiao Ari shouted with a face full of fear. No, these chains have a terrifying force. Uncle Two's dragon scales are useless against them. Zizi roared in despair. Hualala. In the next moment, their bodies were pulled out of the water and mixed with the group of desolate beasts. Bam! As their bodies were thrown out of the water, their faces turned pale as they looked around in fear. Heh! At this time, Wang Xian's gaze swept across the group of desolate beasts. He was slightly taken aback when he saw 2 creatures with the upper bodies of humans. Flood dragon. And that dragon scale. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and sized up the 2 flood dragons. With a wave of his arm, the 2 flood dragons flew towards him. No, don't kill us. Xiao Ari and Zizi looked at Wang Xian in horror as their bodies shivered. They realized that they were in danger this time. Wang Xian looked at them and stretched out his hand to grab the dragon scale on their bodies. An extremely familiar feeling came to him. This is. His eyes flickered. This familiarity made him feel as though he was connected by blood. Brown dragon scales, connected by blood. Earth divine dragon. Where did you get these dragon scales from? Wang Xian stared at them and asked agitatedly. We picked them up. Please let us go. Xiao Ari and Zizi could feel the pressure from Wang Xian. Their faces changed drastically as their eyes turned red. Wang Xian's body shook as the dragon might shrouded them. Both of them were merely 1st or 2nd Order God Emperor realm. Speak. Wang Xian stared at them and growled. These are Uncle Two's dragon scales. Both of their expressions changed as they replied respectfully. The water clan that was being dominated could not resist at all. Who's Uncle Two? Wang Xian asked immediately. His sister Lingxiu's mount. He's a pure-blooded earth divine dragon. He's the benefactor of our fairy dragon clan. Both of them replied respectfully. Lingxiu. Wang Xian's body trembled when he heard them. Bring me to where you are right now. Now, he said hurriedly. Yes. They nodded and flew in one direction. Wang Xian waved his arm and kept all the wild beasts before following closely behind the two fairy dragons. The two fairy dragons did not resist at all under his rule. They brought Wang Xian to the depths of the volcano region. After flying for half an hour, they arrived at the crater of a volcano. Both of them took out a disc and placed it beside the crater. There was another entrance at the crater. Both of them flew in immediately. Wang Xian followed closely behind with excitement and anticipation. His eyes were flickering. It had been more than a decade. More than a decade had passed. Wang Xian followed them into the volcanic cave and they continued flying. They were surrounded by rolling magma. After flying downwards for more than 10 minutes, they entered several hidden entrances in the middle. Wang, we're here. It's right in front, the two fairy dragons said respectfully as they pointed to an entrance. Chapter 3060. The Fairy Dragon Tribe 3-inch lead the way. Wang Xian stared at the entrance with glistening eyes. The two fairy dragons immediately led the way in front respectfully. Zizi, Xiao Ari, when did the two of you run out? Huh. Someone's here. Who are you? Who are you? Just as the two fairy dragons entered, the two ladies in front who were holding folding fans and carrying long swords were slightly taken aback when they saw them. However, their expressions changed drastically when they saw Wang Xian behind them. Oh no, something's wrong with Zizi and Xiao Ari. At this time, one of the ladies sensed the faces of the two fairy dragons. Her pupils constricted and her eyes were filled with horror as she shouted loudly. Shh! A hurried voice came from her and spread across the entire area. Wang Xian stood there and did not take any action. His gaze swept across the surroundings. There was a huge space ahead that was enveloped by magma. There were some buildings in it. Other than flames, there was nothing else in the entire environment. In terms of survival, it wasn't advantageous. The space wasn't huge, with a radius of about 100 kilometers. When the woman sent out the urgent signal, figures quickly rushed out from the building in front of them. They had grave expressions on their faces. A dragon roar sounded from the center ahead. An earth divine dragon over 10,000 meters long flew out from a building. Two figures stood on the back of the earth divine dragon. One was a familiar figure in a white dress, and the other was a lady with a human body and a dragon tail. They also stared ahead with grave expressions. However, when the lady in the white dress saw the figure standing at the entrance, her body trembled. Swish, swish, swish. Who are you? Who are you? A few thousand ladies from the fairy dragon tribe flew over quickly. They surrounded Wang Xian and stared at him with vigilance and murderous intent. In the Milky Way, humans were their enemies. Wang Xian didn't care about them as he stared at the beautiful figure and sensed the familiar aura. Speak. Who are you? What did you do to Xiao Ari and Zizi? In the middle, an old lady questioned Wang Xian with a bitter look. Her eyes were beaming with murderous intent. At this moment, the earth divine dragon that was flying over suddenly shivered when it sensed Wang Xian's aura. The broken connection seemed to have been reconnected. Wang Xian looked at the earth divine dragon and the beautiful figure with a faint smile. With a wave of his arm, the 5 elements grindstone appeared in his hand and floated up into the sky. A series of dragon roars came from the 5 elements grindstone. The figures of the 4 divine dragons, metal, wood, water, and fire appeared on the grindstone. Roar. Upon hearing the roar of the divine dragon on the 5 elements grindstone, the earth divine dragon in front lifted its head and flew towards the grindstone. On the back of the earth divine dragon, Sun Lingxiu pulled the shocked girl and flew up. Roar. At this moment, Wang Xian lifted his head and let out a dragon roar before transforming into his divine dragon form. The body of the divine dragon, which was more than 20,000 meters long, emitted an 8-colored radiance, a powerful dragon might, and a sacred body. This is. At the front, all the members of the fairy dragon clan watched this scene in shock. Looking at the divine dragon that was filled with divine might, Wang Xian swayed his body and flew towards the beautiful figure above. Xiao Xian. The beautiful figure in white couldn't help but cry out softly with a hint of tears in her eyes. Wang Xian swayed his body and hovered in the middle, staring at her with his dragon eyes. Lingxiu, it's been more than 10 years. I've finally found you. The 8-colored figure gradually turned illusory. Wang Xian turned into his human form and stood beside Sun Lingxiu with an agitated look on his face. Xiao Xian. Sun Lingxiu pounced over with joy written all over her face. Wang Xian hugged her and was overwhelmed with emotions. After more than 10 years, they had finally met. What's going on? Below, Wang Xian had retracted his rule. Xiao Ari, Zizi, and the rest, who had recovered, lifted their heads and looked up in shock. Is that Miss Sun's man? The members of the Fairy Dragon clan were also shocked to see this scene. They were shocked by the 8-colored radiance of the divine dragon and the huge grindstone that was hovering in the sky. On the grindstone, the Earth Divine Dragon that had been helping them was entrenched with a few other divine dragons. The power of the 5 elements had completely merged and powerful auras could be felt from above. Zizi, Xiao Ari, what's going on? The members of the Fairy Dragon clan walked over and asked when they saw the two of them hugging and the dumbfounded Zizi and Xiao Ari. Elder, Zizi and I went out to play. In the end, we were attracted by a small fish with the bloodline of a divine dragon. In the end, we were caught by him. After that, we felt that we were being controlled by him. Hence, we brought him here. Xiao Ari lowered her head and replied meekly. Although they knew that they were in the wrong, they did not dare to lie given the current situation. Moreover, judging from the current situation, it might not be a bad thing. You guys. The few women glared at the two girls and looked up into the sky with flickering eyes. Miss Sun mentioned that she came from a divine dragon force and her husband is the leader of this force. Is that him? What a pure bloodline of a divine dragon. The members of the Fairy Dragon clan looked over and were extremely shocked. All right, don't cry. After hugging for 5 minutes, Wang Xian patted Sun Lingxiu's shoulder and spoke softly. Yeah, I'm just too emotional. I knew that one day, Xiao Xian, you would come and look for me. Sun Lingxiu nodded her head and spoke with teary eyes. That's for sure. Wang Xian smiled. Sun Lingxiu wiped her tears and looked at the girl beside her with a smile. Xiao Xian, let me introduce you. This is the leader of the Fairy Dragon clan, Xian Lingyuan. Sister Lingyuan, this is Xiao Xian, my husband. Nice to meet you. I'm Wang Xian. Wang Xian looked at the leader of the Fairy Dragon clan and extended his hand. Thank you for taking care of Lingxiu during this period. Nice to meet you. It's Lingxiu who has been taking care of us. Without her, the Fairy Dragon clan would have been annihilated. Xian Lingyuan shook her head and extended her hand. Her eyes flickered as she looked at Wang Xian. Lingxiu, let's talk inside. All right. Sun Lingxiu nodded her head delightedly and looked at Wang Xian. Wang Xian smiled and waved his arm. The 5 elements grindstone flew towards him. Lingxiu, this Earth Divine Dragon, the leader of the Fairy Dragon clan, Xian Lingyuan, looked at the 5 elements grindstone and the silhouette of the Earth Divine Dragon on it with her mouth agape. This Earth Divine Dragon is a special clone of mine. Wang Xian smiled and said. A special clone? Xian Lingyuan was shocked. She knew that the Earth Divine Dragon was a true divine dragon. She did not expect it to be just a clone. Chapter 3061, Meeting, Fairy Dragon Clan 4-inch Little Xian. After I separated from the Blue Moon, I went to the ruins of the Ink Han clan. After entering the ruins, I obtained an opportunity. My strength rose to the 2nd Order God Emperor realm, and the Earth Divine Dragon rose to the 6th Order God Emperor realm. After we came out, we were chased by several experts. Thus, we fled to the Milky Way. It's been 5 years since we've been in the Milky Way. Furthermore, we've met Big Sister Ling Yuan and the others. In the room where the Fairy Dragon tribe resided, Sun Lingxiu told Wang Xian everything that had happened over the years. For more than 10 years, she had been chased all the way here. Wang Xian felt a little heartache as he caressed her hair. This won't happen again, Wang Xian said with determination. Sun Lingxiu nodded happily. By the way, why are you staying in such a secretive place? Is it because of the humans? At this moment, Wang Xian looked around, glanced at Xian Lingyuan and the rest, and spoke. Not long ago, Wang Xian had heard about the Fairy Dragon tribe from the Mixin deer. This was the only demon-like dragon tribe in the Milky Way. They possessed the strength of a domain-level tribe. Yes, Xiao Xian. In the current universe, the situation of the divine dragon and lesser dragon isn't very good. Unless they can break through to become a primary race in the universe, they will be hunted by other races and used as mounts or even sold, Sun Lingxiu said with a slight frown. Wang Xian nodded his head. He was already very clear about the current situation of the flood dragon in the universe. With your strength, although you aren't too strong in the Milky Way, you shouldn't be too weak either. Don't tell me you're one of the primary races in the universe. His eyes flickered as he glanced around. According to his senses, there were 3 peak Emperor God experts from the fairy dragon tribe in the room. In addition, the Earth Divine Dragon also had the combat power of a peak Emperor God. They shouldn't be in such a situation. Unless there was a universe primary race hunting them down. It's the universe's primary races, the Dragon race, the Nine Swords race, and the Skeleton race. Some of them want to capture us as mounts, while others want our bloodlines, Xian Lingyuan said with a sullen expression. She looked at Sun Lingxiu with an apologetic expression on her face. Lingxiu has already broken through to the 7th Order God Emperor realm, but her cultivation has regressed because she forcefully treated our Fairy Dragon clan's injured disciple. Originally, our Fairy Dragon clan had tens of thousands of disciples, but now, there are only a few thousand. As she spoke, a look of hatred appeared in her eyes. The Dragon race, the Nine Swords race, and the Skeleton race. Wang Xian squinted his eyes with murderous intent flickering in them. Xiao Xian, it's the 3 primary races of the universe. Many members of the Fairy Dragon race died in their hands and were taken away by them. Sun Lingxiu also clenched her fists, her eyes revealing a cold look. She, who possessed the light origin physique, was naturally kind and even had a little Virgin Mary inclination. To be able to make her so angry, one could imagine how furious she was towards the 3 primary races. If it wasn't for the spiritual Earth Divine Dragon, our Fairy Dragon clan might have perished. Xian Lingyuan, who was sitting at the side, had a bitter look on her face. The reason why the Earth Divine Dragon was able to improve so quickly is also because of the huge amount of resources you guys have provided. Sun Lingxiu said. Have you been hiding here all this while? Wang Xian looked at them and sighed in his heart. We are prepared to hide here and wait for the Earth Divine Dragon's strength to break through to the universe supremacy level. Then, we will be able to have a territory in the Milky Way and slowly develop. As Sun Lingxiu spoke, Xian Lingyuan and the others nodded. I wonder if you guys are interested in joining the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian pondered for a moment before extending an invitation. The Fairy Dragon clan belonged to the Vipra Dragon clan. Their bloodline wasn't low and was comparable to ordinary dragons. However, that was all. Without resources and cultivation techniques, it would be extremely difficult for them to break through to the universe supremacy level. Join the Dragon Palace? Xian Lingyuan was taken aback as she looked at the few elders beside her. You guys have the bloodline of the divine dragon, but it's still very thin. Moreover, you guys probably don't have the cultivation techniques of the divine dragon. It will be extremely difficult for you guys to break through to the universe supremacy level. Our Dragon Palace is a clan with pure divine dragon bloodline and possesses the complete inheritance of the divine dragon. Wang Xian said to them. The other party was Lingxiu's friend. Over the past few years, Lingxiu had clearly integrated with the Fairy Dragon clan. If they could join the Dragon Palace, it would be a significant boost to the strength of the Dragon Palace. Pure divine dragon bloodline and the complete inheritance of the divine dragon? Xian Lingyuan and the few elders of the Fairy Dragon clan were taken aback. Their eyes were burning with passion. Wang Xian nodded his head plainly. With a wave of his arm, the divine dragon circled around him. This was the true divine dragon technique. We can join the Dragon Palace, but we hope that the Dragon Palace can help us take revenge. Xian Lingyuan exchanged glances with the few elders and spoke with hatred. Xiao Xian, Lingyuan's mother, who is also the previous clan leader, was killed by the dragon descendants a few years ago. Her blood was extracted and her body was refined into elixir pills. So, Sun Lingxiu whispered to Wang Xian through telepathy. All right. The Dragon Descendants clan, Nine Swords clan, and Skeleton clan. I'll definitely annihilate them. In the future, I'll spare no one who covets the Dragon clan. Wang Xian's eyes flashed with ferocity. Around the ruins of the Ink Han clan, some forces coveted the divine dragon bloodline. Now that Yin He was here, the Azure Dragon was killed and used as a mount. If the divine dragon wanted to rise again, roar in the starry sky, and stand at the peak of the universe, they had to fight their way out. A wave of dragon power gathered within his body. All right, we believe in you and Sister Lingxiu. If the Dragon Palace can help us take revenge, we'll do anything. Xian Lingyuan and the rest stood up and spoke with determination. All you have to do is to be loyal. I don't need anything else. Wang Xian shook his head and looked around. I'm going to build the Dragon Palace here. Once the Dragon Palace is built, you guys can go to the other regions that we currently control. Build the Dragon Palace? Xian Lingyuan and the rest were shocked. Sister Lingyuan, you guys can just watch from the side, Sun Lingxiu said to them. Wang Xian gestured to Sun Lingxiu and flew outside. All disciples of the fairy dragon, fly to the sky. Sun Lingxiu followed closely behind. Her voice spread over 100 kilometers. Now that she had a high status in the fairy dragon clan, the group of fairy dragons flew to the sky curiously and looked over. Wang Xian looked at the resources in his hands and immediately built a level 8 dragon palace. Under their shocked gazes, a dragon palace appeared in their line of sight at a terrifying speed. Dragon Gate Challenge. With your bloodline, you should be able to pass it easily. Don't put up any resistance. After the dragon palace was built, Wang Xian reminded all the fairy dragons. End of chapter. Chapter 3062. The formation of the 5 elements. Great grind. This dragon palace is so beautiful. There are all kinds of buildings and it is completely isolated from the heat outside. It's so comfortable. I feel so comfortable in here. These dragon statues are so realistic. Inside the dragon palace, all the members of the fairy dragon clan entered with joy on their faces. There is a teleportation formation here that can teleport us to the main dragon palace. The dragon palace there is one level higher than here. Wang Xian introduced the fairy dragon tribe with a beaming face. Thank you, Dragon King. We will just stay here. The eyes of Xian Lingyuan and the rest flickered as they carefully observed their surroundings. It's okay. Let's go to the main dragon palace and have a look. It's okay if you want to live here. I'll take you to the main dragon palace. Wang Xian shook his head with a smile and led them into the teleportation formation. Wow, is this the main dragon palace? What dense spiritual energy. When the group of fairy dragons arrived at the main dragon palace, there was another round of cheering. It was pleasant to hear them chatting with each other. Su. At this moment, many figures were flying towards them. Prime Minister Turtle, Heavenly Formation, Roving Heavens, Roving Chi, Roving Lobster, Roving Girl, etc. When they sensed the auras of the Dragon King and Sun Lingxiu, they immediately flew over. Greetings, Dragon King. Welcome back, Dragon Queen. The group of Dragon Palace leaders immediately said respectfully. Lingxiu. The group of girls also flew over, their faces filled with pleasant surprise. They hugged him one by one. When Sun Lingxiu saw them, a smile bloomed on her face as she welcomed them happily. Prime Minister Turtle, this is the Fairy Dragon Clan. They will be members of our Dragon Palace in the future. Show them around, said Wang Xian to Prime Minister Turtle with a smile. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded. Prime Minister Turtle is in charge of everything in the Dragon Palace. When I'm not around, some things are discussed and decided by Prime Minister Turtle and the other civil servants of the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian introduced Xian Lingyuan and the rest to them. Then, Prime Minister Turtle brought them around the Dragon Palace. Soon, the members of the Fairy Dragon Clan cheered one after another. Dragon Cave, Dragon Field, Dragon King Palace, Dragon Transformation Pool, Sea Calming Divine Needle. Their faces were filled with shock when they saw the buildings. Especially when they realized that any random member of the Dragon Palace had a divine dragon bloodline that was much higher than theirs. They even saw 9 winged divine dragons swimming in the Dragon Palace. Based on their understanding of the divine dragon clan, this was a true pure-blooded divine dragon. When Prime Minister Turtle introduced the powerful dragon species to them, they were even more shocked. Especially when they found out that the Dragon Palace had achieved its current strength after being established for just over 20 years, they felt shocked and fortunate. Wang Xian did not interrupt the group of girls who were reminiscing about the past. When he arrived at the Dragon King Hall, the 5 elements grindstone was spinning in front of him. Wang Xian's face was filled with excitement. The great grindstone of 5 elements was the first divine weapon he had ever created, and it was also the weapon he was most comfortable with until now. Ever since he had fused his clone with the 5 elements grindstone, the grindstone's attacks had become much stronger and smoother. However, the 5 elements grindstone had always lacked an earth divine dragon. Without the earth divine dragon, the 5 elements would not be able to fully circulate, and the 5 elements grindstone's offensive power would be greatly weakened. Now that the earth attribute mystical dragon had returned, the 5 elements grindstone was finally complete. Currently, he had 5 avatars inside the 5 elements great grindstone. The earth attributed divine dragon had a 7th order god emperor realm cultivation. The rest of his clones only possessed the cultivation of a 5th order god emperor realm. Without the earth divine dragon, the 5 elements grindstone's offensive power was around the 8th order god emperor realm. It could not keep up with Wang Xian's strength. This was mainly because the clones had fused with the 5 elements grindstone. In order for the 5 elements grindstone to improve, it needed to absorb the 5 elemental divine weapons and energy. Now, with the addition of the earth divine dragon, the 5 elements grindstone's offensive power was forcefully raised to the peak god emperor realm. After all, the earth divine dragon alone could unleash the combat power of a peak god emperor realm expert. This was only one of the reasons. The fusion of the earth divine dragon had completely formed the 5 elements of the 5 elements grindstone. In the future, even if they did not use any resources, their cultivation speed would increase by several times. If the other 4 divine dragons could also reach the 7th order god emperor realm, the 5 elements grindstone would be able to kill a 2nd order universe venerable. After all, the 5 elemental divine dragons were fused together. In the past, when Wang Xian possessed 5 elemental divine dragons, he could fight opponents 5 levels above him. If I want to raise the other 4 divine dragons to the 7th order god emperor realm, I will need to devour a large number of divine weapons. It might take some time, Wang Xian muttered to himself. However, with the addition of the earth divine dragon, the 5 elements grindstone was already terrifying. With his current strength and the 5 elements grindstone, he could fight against 4 to 5 ordinary peak god emperor realm experts. If 2 peak god emperor realm experts stood in front of him, he could kill them in a matter of seconds. Now that the 5 elements grindstone is fully formed, I can fuse the light and darkness divine dragon into the yin-yang dragon coil. Wang Xian pondered for a moment, but gave up on this idea. There were more divine weapons in the 5 elements than the light and darkness divine dragons. Once these 2 divine weapons were fused into the divine weapons as weapon spirits, it would be even more difficult to improve them. Next, I'll destroy the Ice Mountain first, then the Dragon Descendants race, 9 Swords race, and Skeleton race. Wang Xian's eyes flickered with killing intent. Whether it was for Lingxiu, the fairy dragon race, or the half-dragon with the divine dragon bloodline, he had to destroy them. Destroying 3 low-level races in the universe, announcing the rise of the Dragon Palace, and establishing a foothold in the universe. However, it wasn't that easy to destroy them. For the next 2 days, Wang Xian was in no hurry. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. After being separated from Sun Lingxiu for so long, he naturally had to accompany her. He accompanied her for 2 days and 2 nights. The fairy dragon race wandered around the Dragon Palace in these 2 days, their faces filled with excitement. Immortal Spirit Yuan, it's up to you whether you want to stay here or in the Milky Way. I have something to ask you. 2 days later, Wang Xian called Immortal Spirit Yuan and the rest over. There were 3 peak god emperor experts in the fairy dragon race, and Immortal Spirit Yuan wasn't one of them. The 3 peak god emperors were the fairy dragon race and the 3 old ladies. Please ask, Dragon King. We'll definitely tell you everything we know. Immortal Spirit Yuan and the rest replied respectfully. Are there any universe-venerable level wild beasts in the volcano region? Do you know of the nests of some peak god emperor wild beasts there? Wang Xian asked. If Immortal Spirit Yuan and the rest had a good understanding of the volcano region, and if there weren't any universe-venerable level wild beasts there, they could totally wipe out the volcano region. Reporting to Dragon King, there's a universe-venerable level wild beast in the volcano region. Also, we know of the nest of a race that has a few peak god emperor wild beasts. Chapter 3063. There's a universe supremacy level wild beast in the volcano region? Wang Xian frowned slightly when he heard Xian Lingyuan and the rest's report. Even he had to be careful when dealing with a universe supremacy level existence. If he were to be attacked first, Wang Xian might even die there. Yes, Dragon King. There's a universe supremacy level wild beast in the volcano region. However, that wild beast isn't overly violent. It lives under the largest volcano in the center. If we don't provoke it, it shouldn't attack us. Moreover, it hibernates for hundreds or even thousands of years. We have never seen its true form. Xian Lingyuan said. That peak stage god emperor desolate beast race you mentioned, is it far away from that cosmos paragon desolate beast? There are a few peak emperor god beasts. Wang Xian continued asking Xian Lingyuan and the rest. According to the information we received, there are 3 of them. We can't be sure if there are more. They are very far away from the universe supremacy level wild beasts. In fact, no wild beast dares to go near the center. Some human experts don't dare to go near there, for fear of offending the universe supremacy level wild beast. Xian Lingyuan and the rest said. 3. We can deal with it. Wang Xian's eyes lit up. He looked at the 3 elders and said, follow me. We'll annihilate that wild beast race. Yes, Dragon King. The 3 fairy dragon elders nodded. Now that they had joined the Dragon Palace, they understood that as long as there were resources, the members of the Dragon Palace could improve rapidly. To them, this improvement was heaven-defying and unreasonable. Let's go. We'll act now. Wang Xian stood up and said to them. Yes. Xian Lingyuan and the rest nodded and followed behind Wang Xian. Dragon King, aren't we bringing some men over? Xian Lingyuan asked Wang Xian as they came to the teleportation formation. There's no need. The few of us are enough. Wang Xian smiled. He stepped into the teleportation formation and arrived at the Dragon Palace in the volcano region. When he came to the Milky Way, he had thought of building a Dragon Palace here. However, after considering that there were too many powerful aquatic creatures and he was too weak, he gave up the idea. Now, the Dragon Palace in the volcano region was very safe and convenient. Dragon King, that blaze tortoise-winged beast is a desolate beast race. It is very far from us and will take about a day's flight. The volcano region was huge. When Wang Xian and the rest flew out of the Dragon Palace, Xian Lingyuan pointed in a direction. I'll lead the way. You guys point the way. Wang Xian said to them. He extended his unparalleled sacred wings and enveloped them. This way. Xian Lingyuan pointed in a direction. Wang Xian made a move and flew towards the direction of the blazing turtle-winged beast at a terrifying speed. Wang Xian, whose fighting power had increased to the peak Emperor God realm, had also reached a terrifying speed. It was comparable to a normal universe knight's speed. With a slight movement of his body, he directly rushed into the void crack. With your speed, Dragon King, you should be able to reach the territory of the turtle-winged beasts in about an hour. A fairy dragon elder said in shock. Wang Xian revealed a faint smile as he sped along. After entering the spatial crack, there was no resistance, no flames, and no seawater. Everything was pitch black. Wang Xian used his dragon eyes to look through the space and sense the direction. An hour later, Wang Xian stopped and returned to the outside of the universe. He scanned the surroundings. Dragon King, it should be in that direction. I've only been here once. A fairy dragon elder looked to the right and said. Given our strength, we don't have to worry. Wang Xian nodded his head and flew towards the right. Woo woo woo. After flying for a minute, he suddenly sensed a sound coming from below. It was accompanied by an attack coming towards them. Huh! Wang Xian was taken aback. He looked down and saw a savage beast with thick, fiery red wings, a tortoise shell, and a ferocious head charging towards them. Blazing turtle-winged beast. Wang Xian waved his arm and the 5 elements grindstone smashed down. Boom! The blazing turtle-winged beast was suppressed instantly. The 5 elements energy sealed it tightly. A 7th-order God Emperor realm blazing turtle-winged beast. Xianling Yuan said. I didn't expect it to hide so deeply that even we couldn't sense it. Wang Xian said with surprise. Dragon King, this is the lair of the blazing turtle-winged beast. They are almost completely integrated with the lava here. It's hard to sense them. An elder fairy dragon elder said, if a peak emperor god blazing turtle-winged beast were to hide, it would be even harder for us to detect it. This is already the territory of the blazing turtle-winged beast. This is going to be troublesome. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and hesitated for a moment. He waved his arm and a large amount of dragon blood condensed into an arowana. The arowana swayed its body and swam forward quickly. 90% of living creatures can't resist the temptation of the blood of a divine dragon. The blazing turtle-winged beast wouldn't be too wary of an arowana appearing in their territory. An elder fairy dragon elder said with a smile. Wang Xian nodded his head and controlled the arowana to swim quickly with his mind. Woo-woo. Woo-woo. Soon, blazing turtle-winged beasts flew out from the lava below. They stared at the arowana and chased after it. The movements of some blazing turtle-winged beasts attracted the attention of others. Soon, within a radius of 1 billion kilometers, the blazing turtle-winged beast chased after the arowana in a frenzy. 1/9th order God Emperor and over 400 blazing turtle emperor god beasts. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. With a wave of his arm, the 5 elements grindstone attacked the blazing turtle-winged beast. Woo-woo-woo. Woo-woo-woo. The group of blazing turtle-winged beasts felt threatened. They raised their heads and let out a series of dull cries that spread to the surroundings. Oh no, Dragon King, they are calling for help. Fairy Dragon and the other 3 said with vigilance on their faces. It's fine. Get ready. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and scanned the surroundings. He could sense waves of terrifying auras rushing towards him. 3 of them had terrifying auras and were definitely peak Emperor God realm existences. Woo-woo. Soon, a humongous figure appeared in Wang Xian's sight. It was 10,000 meters in size and had 4 enormous wings on both sides. Its body was covered in flames and its shell was emitting a scarlet glow. A wave of scorching aura rushed towards him. I'll kill one in a second. You guys hold off the other 2. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. He moved and disappeared instantly. In the next moment, he appeared above the peak Emperor God Emperor blazing turtle-winged beast. Chapter 3064, Killing Tortoise-Winged Beast below 5 elements Dragon Claw. 5 elements grind. When Wang Xian appeared above the peak stage God Emperor Tortoise-Winged Beast, the 5 elements Dragon Claw shrouded it. At the same time, the 5 elements grind pressed downwards. Hong hong hong! The peak stage God Emperor Tortoise-Winged Beast trembled and blood seeped out from its body. Even when the terrifying attack landed on its tortoise shell, it was heavily injured. Wang Xian's attack ended and it could not react in time. Dragon Claw, Annihilation. Break for me. Wang Xian's eyes were cold as he slammed his dragon claw down on the tortoise shell. The greyish annihilation force on the 5 elements grind charged towards the tortoise shell. At this moment, Wang Xian was aiming for a one-hit kill. Facing 3 peak stage God Emperor tortoise-winged beasts, the possibility of Wang Xian taming them was extremely low. While he was taming one, the other 2 would either attack him or escape. Hence, he had to kill 2 quickly before taming the last one. Hong! That fire-winged tortoise-winged beast felt death looming over it. It was infuriated. Scorching flames surged from its body and engulfed a radius of a few 100 million kilometers. Wang Xian was the first to bear the brunt of it. Ka. Wang Xian's body was completely covered with dragon scales. The fiery red dragon scales were also emitting scorching flames. A fire divine dragon was circling around him. Ka. Below, Wang Xian's dragon claw caused the tortoise shell to crack. The 5 elements grind's annihilation force surged towards its body. Woo! Woo woo! Behind, the 2 peak stage God Emperor tortoise winged beasts saw their comrade being attacked. They roared and charged towards Wang Xian. At the same time, the surrounding fire-winged beasts were riled up and charged towards them. Moreover, they could sense more and more fire-winged beasts charging towards them. Attack! Fairy Dragon, the 3 elders, Xianling Yuan and the others immediately attacked the 2 peak stage Emperor God tortoise-winged beasts and the surrounding tortoise-winged beasts. Peng! At this moment, heavy sounds were heard from Wang Xian's side. The 5 elemental grindstone and the dragon claw landed heavily on the heavily wounded blazing wing tortoise's body at the same time. The heavily wounded blazing wing tortoise was on the verge of death, its life force rapidly fading away. Buzz! Wang Xian grabbed its corpse and threw it into the mother nest. His gaze landed on the other peak stage God Emperor fire tortoise-winged beast. He flapped his unbeginning saint wings and instantly appeared above it. Roar! That peak stage God Emperor fire-winged tortoise sensed Wang Xian's arrival. It lifted its head and shot a terrifying fire pillar at him. Blazing turtle-winged beasts, each 10 meters in size, suddenly rushed out of its shell. Boom boom boom! The countless small blaze tortoise-winged beasts immediately exploded. Sensing the terrifying attack, Wang Xian's expression changed slightly. With a shift of his body, he dodged the attack instantly. With his speed that far exceeded others of the same level, attacks from desolate beasts of the same level could not even touch him. Woo woo woo! When the blazing winged tortoise saw that its nomological sacred art had been evaded, it revealed a look of rage and fear. Hua la! Wang Xian flapped his unbeginning saint wings and instantly appeared behind it. With a wave of his arm, a wave of energy was injected into the unbeginning saint wings. The 5 divine dragons on the unbeginning saint wings let out a roar. Each of them condensed their attributes into a divine dragon and attacked the blazing winged tortoise. The blazing winged tortoise sensed the threat behind it. It immediately turned around and shivered. The surrounding lava condensed into 2 lava tornadoes and attacked the 5 divine dragons. Hua la! The unbeginning saint wings flapped and instantly appeared behind the blazing winged tortoise. The peak stage God Emperor fire-winged tortoise that was dealing with the 5 elements great grind instantly felt an intense pain coming from its tail. Following which, a terrifying dragon claw pressed down on its body. Woo woo woo! It let out a panicked roar. The 5 elements great grind spun and released 5 divine dragons that intertwined together to form a 5-colored divine dragon. The 5-colored divine dragon gradually turned into a grayish dragon claw and attacked the blazing winged tortoise. Roar! Sensing a threatening attack coming towards it, it struggled in fear. Hong! 2 dragon claws landed on its body, causing it to bleed profusely. Woo woo, woo woo! On the other side, the last peak stage God Emperor fire-winged tortoise saw the situation of its comrade. Its eyes were filled with fear. In less than a minute, one of its kind was killed and the other was subdued. Hong hong hong! It possessed strong combat instincts. A powerful flaming tortoise shell defense rose from its body. Attack! The 3 fairy dragon elders saw Wang Xian's terrifying strength and were excited. They attacked this peak stage God Emperor fire-winged tortoise with all their might. Wang! However, when their attacks landed on the flaming tortoise shell, the blazing winged tortoise disappeared. It escaped. It actually ran away. The 3 elders of the fairy dragon were also slightly taken aback and said in astonishment. Wang Xian sensed the 3rd peak stage God Emperor fire-winged tortoise escaping and was stunned. Woo woo woo! Just as one escaped, another roar could be heard from behind. The aura of a peak stage God Emperor could be felt. Another peak stage God Emperor fire-winged tortoise led a few thousand Emperor God subordinates and charged over. One escaped, another one came. Just nice. Wang Xian's eyes revealed a tinge of excitement. He struck the blazing winged tortoise with his dragon claws and kept it. Subdue this one. Seeing the blazing winged tortoise charging over, he charged forward. The peak stage God Emperor fire-winged tortoise sensed the situation and was confused when it saw the aura of its comrades disappearing. dragon eyes locking 8 desolations. Wang Xian charged over. In order to prevent it from escaping, he used his law-sacred art to seal it. Woo woo. That peak stage God Emperor fire-winged tortoise saw the dense chains in front of it. It opened its mouth and spat out fire ropes that clashed against the chains. Peng peng peng. An intense collision could be heard. Wang Xian's eyes were cold. His body was emitting 8-colored radiance and his dragon scales were wrapped around him. Wang Xian extended his dragon claws and clawed at its head. Hong hong. That peak stage God Emperor fire-winged tortoise saw Wang Xian attacking it. Its 4 flesh wings slapped the ground lightly. Below the ground, pillars of fire charged towards Wang Xian. Hua la. At this moment, he increased his speed and landed on the body of the blazing winged tortoise. He revealed a smile. Hong. The dragon claws landed on it and created a loud explosion. The seabed within a radius of billions of kilometers trembled and the magma rumbled. Chapter 3065, Tomb of a Peak Emperor God. Boom boom boom. Woo woo woo. Woo woo woo. Dull sounds reverberated within the territory of the fire tortoise-winged beast. Wang Xian stood on a Peak Emperor God tortoise-winged beast with chains coiled around it. Terrifying attacks rained down on it. The fire tortoise-winged beast howled in agony as Wang Xian's dragon aura pressed down on it. Around him, many fire tortoise-winged beasts fled frantically. Those that could escape to their nests immediately did so. Fairy Dragon, Old Elder Xian Lingyuan and the rest looked at Wang Xian on the fire tortoise-winged beast in astonishment. Wasn't his combat power way too terrifying? He could completely suppress a Peak Emperor God wild beast. If these wild beasts didn't team up, they wouldn't even be a match for him. Surrender. Wang Xian's dragon claws landed on the fire tortoise-winged beast again and again. The severely injured fire tortoise-winged beast began to beg for mercy. Woo woo. As time passed, the fire tortoise-winged beast lowered its head slowly and stopped resisting. Wang Xian revealed a smile when he saw it surrender. Finally tamed. He looked around. Other than some corpses, the rest of the fire tortoise-winged beasts were either dead or escaped. I'm going to tame it first. You guys wait here. Wang Xian said to Xian Lingyuan as he began taming the fire tortoise-winged beast. It's good to follow a leader. There are many things that we don't have to worry about, especially with a strong leader. We don't have to worry and we won't lack food. Xian Lingyuan looked at Wang Xian who was taming the wild beast and said to the old elders around her with a smile. That's because we're lucky. If we were to rely on other races, we would be their mounts. One of the old elders said with a smile. Time passed day by day. In order to tame a peak stage God Emperor desolate beast, it would take quite some time. It took him a full 10 days to completely tame it, and he used some vitality liquid to heal its injuries. Let's continue to look around. Wang Xian said to the 4 of them. Yes, Dragon King. The 4 of them nodded their heads and immediately followed behind Wang Xian to search the surroundings. However, things didn't go smoothly. Some fire tortoise-winged beasts fled the moment they encountered Wang Xian. This made them frown slightly. Looks like these blazing winged tortoise beasts are already on guard against us. Let's return. After walking around for half a day, Wang Xian shook his head and gave up. Killing 2 peak stage God Emperor fire-winged tortoise beasts and taming one, he was already very satisfied. 2 blaze tortoise-winged beasts could increase the combat power of peak God Emperor realm to Orokai and the others. At that time, destroying the Ice Mountain race would be much easier. As for the peak stage Emperor God War pet, it could also help Wang Xian improve and accumulate a large amount of dragon energy. According to his estimation, as long as he could tame 5 or 6 peak Emperor God battle pets and sell them, his strength would increase by another level. Enlai. Upon returning to the Dragon Palace, Wang Xian immediately informed Enlai. Enlai received the message and quickly arrived. Dragon King. Dark Blaze stood respectfully in front of him. Inform the Yaki Devil Fiend and ask them to find a way to return to the Dragon Palace and improve their strength. Wang Xian instructed him. It's Dragon King. Enlai nodded. After an hour, Enlai brought the 2 back to the Dragon Transformation Pool to level up. Next, Wang Xian tamed some untamed wild beasts in the mother nest. But 10 days later, Wang Xian suddenly received a message from Mi Xindir. The grave of Gemini Celestial Emperor? Wang Xian looked at the message and raised his eyebrows. In Willow Deity Dojo, Willow Deity announced a treasure land to all disciples. It was also the place where experts died. Gemini Celestial Emperor was the two experts who dominated the Milky Way millions of years ago. Gemini Celestial Emperor was also known as Saber and Sword Celestial Emperor. One of them used a saber while the other used a sword. Both of them were peak stage Emperor God experts. Back then, both of them were very famous. They once offended the Nine Swords race and were hunted by the experts of the race. But both of them killed 4 peak stage Emperor God experts of the Nine Swords race and tens of thousands of other Emperor God experts. In the end, the supremacies of the Nine Swords race attacked but failed to eliminate them. But since then, Gemini Celestial Emperor disappeared. Looking at this message, they had obviously died. Willow Deity should have known where the two Emperor Gods died. Hence, it announced the location to the dojo as a reward for the disciples. This wasn't the first time something like this happened in Willow Deity Dojo. But this was the first time Wang Xian encountered it. The grave of 2 peak stage Emperor Gods, should I go take a look? See if there are any treasures? Wang Xian muttered. He opened the Universe AI and looked at some messages. In the group of Willow Deity Dojo disciples, many of them were ready to go take a look. Hey! At this moment, he squinted his eyes when he saw a message in the group. A disciple of Willow Deity Dojo said that the reason why Gemini Celestial Emperor could kill the Emperor Gods of the Nine Swords race and escape from the supremacies of the universe was because they had acquired spiritual treasures. Acquired spiritual treasures, even the weakest ones, possessed immense destructive power. Among the domain-level races, the Ice Mountain race, which was relatively stronger, only had one acquired spiritual treasure. Perhaps even those low-level races in the universe did not have many acquired spiritual treasures. Gemini Celestial Emperor is of the fire attribute and water attribute respectively. If their weapons were absorbed by the 5 elements grind, it would definitely improve tremendously. Wang Xian's eyes sparkled as he decided to take a look. He arrived at the Dragon Palace in the volcano region through the teleportation device and flew towards the location of Willow Deity Dojo. Orokai and Demon Shaw were about to make a breakthrough and the operation over there would still take a few more days. He could take a look at the grave of Gemini Celestial Emperor in the next few days. Senior sister, I've called Brother Wang over. He said he would be here in a while. I might not be able to be with you guys by then. At this moment, a group of over 30 girls had gathered in Willow Deity Dojo. Mi Xin Lu looked at the messages and spoke to them apologetically. Sister Xin Lu, are you going to be with Wang Xian? A few girls frowned. Wang Xian is really strong. If he hadn't offended the Ice Mountain race and caused dissatisfaction among the other disciples, we could have teamed up with him. What a pity. A girl shook her head. It's too dangerous to be with him. Xin Lu, you have to be careful too. A lady reminded the Mi Xindir. Don't worry, Brother Wang is a good guy. You will know after interacting with him a few more times. Mi Xin Lu shook her head and smiled. Seeing the Universe AI trembling slightly, she said, Brother Wang is here. I'll head over first. Chapter 3066, Sister Xin Lu is a nice person with decent strength. Looking at the departing figure of the Mi Xindir, a few girls said indifferently. She's not bad. Wang Xian is strong too. It's a pity he's too reckless. Oh right, senior sister, how many people from Willow Deity Dojo are going? A girl nodded and asked. I'm not sure. At least 6,000 to 7,000 people. After all, there might be acquired spiritual treasures. Such treasures are tempting to everyone. The chances of us getting them aren't high. However, Gemini Celestial Emperor was once a famous figure in the Milky Way. He should have many other treasures. The girls continued their discussion. Brother Wang. In the Willow Deity Dojo, Mi Xin Lu walked over with a smile when she saw Wang Xian. Have all the disciples from Willow Deity Dojo gone there? Wang Xian looked at her and asked directly. Someone should have arrived. However, the fallen god nation of Gemini Celestial Emperor is located on a lone island in the sea. There are many wild beasts there. Moreover, it's not easy to enter the fallen god nation. Mai Xinlu said. Let's go. Wang Xian moved his body and brought her out of the place immediately. Layers of dragon scales covered her body, concealing her aura completely. The experts from the iceberg race were still locking on to him. Wang Xian didn't want to be entangled with someone who was about to die. He pushed his speed to the limit. Even peak Emperor god experts wouldn't be able to detect him. The lone island in the sea was further away from Willow Deity Dojo. Even with Wang Xian's speed, it would take him 2 days to reach. 2 days later, a humongous island floated above the Milky Way. The island was so huge that one couldn't see its borders. The island was surrounded by countless birds and beasts. Every bird and beast had a ferocious aura. This island was a paradise for the wild beasts. Once there was a commotion, it would attract a large number of wild beasts. In fact, everyone knew that there were wild beasts at the level of universe supremacy on this island. Even the experts from the weaker races in the Milky Way had to be careful here. Do you know where it is? Wang Xian asked Mai Xinlu. Yes, a senior sister told us the exact location. It's over there. Mai Xinlu pointed in a direction. Wang Xian moved and flew over immediately. From the sky, one could see huge desolate beasts on the lone island. Hunting and killing continued on the isolated island. Soon, at the edge of the island, there was a very strange building. Only a corner of the building was exposed, and it was only 10 meters in size. A large number of desolate beasts gathered around the strange 10-meter-tall building. A huge 9th-order God Emperor realm bird was lying on the ground, staring at the building with a burning gaze. Wang Xian noticed that there were quite a number of humans around. They should be the disciples of Willow Deity Dojo. Currently, apart from the disciples of Willow Deity Dojo, no one else knew about this place. Wang Xian hid in the sky and watched with flickering eyes. A large portion of the god nation was located within the void crack. It was clear that the Gemini god emperor had laid down a restriction before his death. As their own divine kingdom, they were the masters of the divine kingdom. They could set the rules. Clearly, the two of them also knew that they were about to die, so they made the divine kingdom into their graves. Once they barged in, they might suffer a devastating blow. Even An Lai wouldn't be able to enter a divine kingdom like this. Wang Xian thought to himself. When one's strength reached the peak God Emperor realm, he could set the rules in his own divine kingdom. Just like how array masters could set up arrays to change heaven and earth, experts could easily change the rules in their own divine kingdom. Flames, torrential rain, lightning, etc. could be set up at will. If the divine kingdom was a dead zone, An Lai would suffer a fatal attack the moment he entered. With his 3rd-order God Emperor realm strength, he would be instantly annihilated by the attacks of a peak God Emperor realm expert. Wang Xian scanned the location of the divine kingdom with his dragon eyes. He did not show himself. Perhaps the moment he showed himself, news of him would reach the Ice Mountain tribe. Big Brother Wang, should we wait here or barge in? Mai Xinlu asked with flickering eyes. I can sense a terrifying energy in this divine kingdom graveyard. Wang Xian said plainly. Scanning with his dragon eyes, he could vaguely see 2 enormous divine kingdoms. One was the fire divine kingdom, and the other was the water divine kingdom. However, there seemed to be a ferocious creature inside. A senior sister said that Paragon Willow Deity announced this god nation graveyard to all disciples as a test for all disciples. The treasures inside aren't that easy to obtain. I'm afraid it won't be easy to become a peak stage god emperor. Mai Xinlu said. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly as he pondered. Buzz buzz. At this time, the universe AI transmitted information about Yamata no Orokai and Demon Fiend. The two of them had completed their breakthroughs and returned to the iceberg race. Just now, they had parasitized the leader of the iceberg race and came to ask him if he wanted to wipe out the iceberg race in one fell swoop. Upon hearing this message, Wang Xian squinted his eyes and a tinge of excitement flashed in his eyes. Yamata no Orokai and Mosha had reached the peak stage of God Emperor. One of them had parasitized the grandson of the current leader of the Ice Mountain race. Under such a surprise attack, It wasn't too difficult to kill a peak stage God Emperor expert. After all, who would have thought that the grandson he loved and respected would kill him? Under such circumstances, it only took them a few hours to parasitize the leader of the Ice Mountain tribe. Moreover, they even obtained the postnatal spiritual treasure, Frost Sword. Why don't I wipe out the Ice Mountain tribe first before talking about this? Wang Xian was hesitant. Since the leader of the Ice Mountain tribe was under control, it would be much easier to get rid of the remaining peak stage God Emperor experts of the Ice Mountain tribe. Wiping them out would save him the trouble of being ambushed by them. Having made up his mind, Wang Xian looked at my Xin Lu. I need to settle something first. Do you want to wait here or stay in my special space? He asked. Big brother Wang, you need to settle something? Then, I'll wait for you here. If there's any news, I'll let you know. My Xin Lu was slightly surprised. That's good too. I'll give you a battle pet to protect yourself. Wang Xian nodded his head. With a wave of his arm, an 8th order God Emperor tortoise blazing winged beast appeared beside him. My Xin Lu's eyes lit up and her face was filled with surprise. Following which, she shook her head and said, Big brother Wang, this battle pet is too strong. I can't control it. It's all right. I'll help you suppress it and tame it a little. Wang Xian shook his head. My Xin Lu was also a flood dragon. Wang Xian would try his best to help her. Moreover, Wang Xian was prepared to let her join the Dragon Palace in the future. Chapter 3067. After helping the heart deer tame its battle pet, Wang Xian returned to the Volcano Domain's Dragon Palace. The heart deer wasn't in any danger following the disciples of Willow Deity Dojo. Furthermore, it had returning leaf and an 8th order God Emperor battle pet. It wasn't weak in Willow Deity Dojo. In the entire Willow Deity Dojo, there were only 5 peak God Emperors. There were only 3 to 400 9th and 8th order God Emperors. Back in the Volcano Domain's Dragon Palace, Enlai was already waiting. Let's go. Wang Xian gestured to Enlai. In the next moment, they appeared in a grand hall. Inside the grand hall, a white-haired old man and a middle-aged man were seated. When they saw Wang Xian, they bowed with a smile. Dragon King, Dragon King. They were Orokai and Demon Shaw. Orokai was currently residing in the white-haired old man, who was the leader of the Iceberg tribe. Demon Shaw was residing in the elder of the Iceberg tribe. Dragon King, take a look. This is the Iceberg tribe's acquired spiritual treasure, the Frost Sword. Orokai immediately took out a sharp sword that was about 2 meters long and covered with frost. On the sword, there was a pattern of an iceberg, which looked unusually exquisite and mysterious. An aura that could freeze everything circulated on the sword. Wang Xian reached out to take it. He was excited to feel the energy within the Frost Divine Sword. As expected of an acquired spiritual treasure. What's the situation now? Wang Xian asked the two after sizing up the Frost Divine Sword. Dragon King, we have obtained most of the information about the Ice Mountain race. Among the 7 Peak God Emperor powerhouses, 4 of them and a Peak God Emperor divination wizard are around the Willow Deity Dojo, searching for your traces, Dragon King. Other than that, there are 2 Peak Emperor God who are in closed-door cultivation and 1 is training in the Milky Way. Now, other than the unknown location of that person, I have a way to call the rest over. Orokai said with a smile. Oh. Then summon them as soon as possible and eliminate them. Wang Xian's eyes flickered coldly as he said. Yes, Dragon King. I have already informed one of them. He should be here in half an hour. In addition, the guardian of the Iceberg tribe's life token is under control. There won't be any problems. Orokai replied. All right. Wang Xian smiled and asked, how are the resources in the Ice Mountain tribe? Dragon King, they are very rich in resources. The leader of the Ice Mountain tribe also has a lot of treasures. TSK, these forces that have been around for billions of years really have a rich heritage. If our Dragon Palace kills them, we'll be able to improve tremendously. Perhaps you'll have enough resources to improve, Dragon King. Orokai said excitedly. All right. Wang Xian's eyes were burning with passion. If he could improve, he would possess the strength of a universe supremacy. Dragon King, he's here. A supreme elder of the Ice Mountain tribe has been guarding the Ice Mountain tribe. More than 10 minutes later, Orokai whispered to Wang Xian. Kill him instantly. As Wang Xian spoke, he came to the back of the main hall and concealed his figure and aura. Xiao Yu, what happened in the clan? At this time, an old man covered in frost walked in and said to Orokai. Supreme Elder, our Ice Mountain race has encountered trouble. Yamata no Orokai was sitting on the body of the Ice Mountain tribe's patriarch. His face was filled with sorrow and embarrassment. What trouble? The Supreme Elder frowned and asked in a deep voice. Not long ago, someone called the Dragon King killed a few disciples of our Willow Deity Dojo. He's very strong. We invited a prediction wizard and 4 guardians to hunt him down. Little did we expect that we've lost contact with him. Yamata no Orokai walked towards him as he spoke. What? We've lost contact with the 4 Peak Emperor God Guardians? They. Hearing this information, the Great Elder's face was filled with shock. Boom. Wang. However, before he could finish his sentence, Yamata no Orokai struck abruptly and landed his palm on the side of the old man. The devilish chi beside him tore apart the body of the parasitic and tunneled into the old man's body. Xiao Yu, you. The sudden turn of events had the old man shocked. He widened his eyes in horror. What's going on? What's going on? He immediately mobilized the vast energy in his body and struggled with all his might. However, the black liquid was tunneling into his body from his 7 apertures. The old man's body trembled violently. Soon, his body trembled and his pupils turned completely black. Gradually, the black disappeared and his pupils regained their clarity. However, within the clarity, there was a tinge of slyness. Hey, done. The devilish chi exclaimed excitedly. He took out the vitality fluid to heal the wounds inflicted by Yamata no Orokai. Wang Xian walked out from the back with a smile. Under such an unexpected situation, Wang Xian didn't even have to do anything. This was the terrifying part of the venom-horned dragon. Hehe, Dragon King, you don't even have to do anything. We can eliminate them. The 2 of them laughed. When will the next one arrive? Wang Xian asked with a smile. Today. I don't know when exactly it will be. The most troublesome ones are the few guardians from the Ice Mountain race. Together with the prediction wizard, there are 5 Peak Emperor God experts. I'm afraid it won't be easy to separate them within a short period of time. Of course, if we have 10 days or a month of planning, it shouldn't be a big problem. Yamata no Orokai pondered. There's no need for that. When the time comes, we can kill them by force. The 3 of us can catch them off guard and kill 3 of them. The other 2 can be easily dealt with. Wang Xian said. It's not a big problem. The 5 of them might need 5 to 6 days to arrive. Yamata no Orokai said. Let's eliminate them as soon as possible to prevent any unforeseen events. Wang Xian nodded his head. Emperor God experts all had unimaginable means. It would be best to eliminate them as soon as possible. 5 to 6 days passed quickly. What they didn't expect was that while they were searching for Wang Xian, their race was gradually disintegrating. 2 hours later, a supreme elder from the Ice Mountain race rushed over and was easily killed by the 2 devilish chi Orokai. At the same time, at the sea around Willow Deity Dojo, the few guardians who received the message from Yamata no Orokai frowned and immediately rushed towards the Ice Mountain race. Because of the prediction wizard, they couldn't rush over through the God Nation. They could only fly. It would take 5 to 6 days to cover such a long distance. While they were on their way, Wang Xian and the rest were also waiting quietly. The countdown to the annihilation of the Ice Mountain race had begun. Chapter 3068, Patriarch, why did you summon us here in such a hurry? 5 days later, 5 old men walked into the main hall of the iceberg race. That's good. I've invited an old friend of mine to help us eliminate that guy. With my friend's help, we'll definitely be able to kill him easily. In the main hall, Orokai said with a big smile when he saw them coming in. Oh! A few guardians and divination wizards raised their eyebrows slightly. Ever since that guy escaped from the last ambush, they hadn't been able to lock onto that guy's figure until now. According to the calculation wizard's guess, it was because he was in Willow Deity Dojo. The aura of Willow Deity had concealed him from locking onto him. They did not expect the patriarch to find an old friend at this time. They had never heard of this old friend. But soon, they noticed a figure covered in strange scales at the side. The figure contained a terrifying aura. They could tell that it was a peak Emperor God expert. But what surprised them was that there was a battle pet behind him. It was a battle pet that was only 10 meters tall, had a turtle shell, 4 wings, and was emitting a horrifying aura. They recognized the battle pet immediately. It was a peak Emperor God tortoise-winged beast. To have a peak Emperor God tortoise battle pet, this person was definitely not simple. A look of astonishment appeared on the faces of the Ice Mountain tribe protectors. "Greetings, friend," the protectors said very politely. Greetings, everyone." The figure covered in dragon scales was Wang Xian. Now that he had the ability to change his aura, they had prepared this plan over the past few days. Moreover, they could also increase the fighting power of a peak Emperor God. Tortoise-winged beast. A battle pet that Wang Xian had tamed. "Ha ha ha, come, calculation wizard, please take a seat. Let's discuss our next plan." Yamata no Orokai laughed and gestured to them. "All right." The Wizard of Divination nodded and walked to the side to sit. The 4 protectors also walked to the side. Wang Xian looked at the calculation wizard approaching him, then at Yamata no Sho and the rest with a smile. Boom! In the next moment, his palm turned into a dragon claw and struck at the calculation wizard. The terrifying attack and the terrifying speed instantly entered the prediction wizard's body. He had no time to react. Clang! Fut! Roar! Yamata no Sho and Sho made their moves. Yamata no Orokai unsheathed his Frost Divine Sword and slashed at one of the guardians. The sudden attack and the horror of the Frost Divine Sword destroyed the guardian. Similarly, Demon Fian's claws tore through the parasitic body and pierced through a protector. Black, sharp claws emerged from various parts of the protector's body. The Blaze Turtle-winged beast suddenly charged at an Ice Mountain race protector and bit off half of his body with its ferocious head. However, that peak stage Emperor God protector's body was glowing brightly. He gave up half of his body in shock and retreated to the back. In an instant, 2 peak Emperor God experts were killed in an instant and 1 peak Emperor God expert was heavily injured. When Wang Xian's dragon claw pierced through the calculation wizard, he frowned. Wizard Divination's mirror of heaven collapsed. It seemed like the mirror of heaven had some kind of mystical energy that blocked his fatal attack. The calculation wizard appeared at the entrance of the hall. His face was pale and filled with fear. "Chief, what are you doing?" The only one who was not attacked was the 3 guardians of the giant sword. When he saw this scene, he was shocked. He roared in disbelief. "What are you doing? Didn't you want to kill me?" At this moment, the dragon scales on Wang Xian's face disappeared. He was back to his original appearance with a cold expression. He locked his gaze on the calculation wizard and said with murderous intent, "Today is the end of the iceberg race. Hehehe, how dare you kill our dragon king? All of you will die today." Yamata no Sho and Sho emerged from the body of the parasitic guardian. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. Without the slightest hesitation, they instantly attacked the 3 great sword protectors and the severely injured great protector. "How did this happen? When did you kill Chief and the rest?" The 3 protectors of the giant sword roared in shock and disbelief. When they were chasing after Wang Xian had killed Chief and the rest. He had entered the body of Chief and ambushed them. All of this made his hair stand on end. "Stop. Your matters have nothing to do with me." The calculation sorcerer screamed in horror when he saw Wang Xian charging towards him at a terrifying speed. He was too fast. "You were among the people who ambushed me previously. Let's see how many times you can dodge my fatal attacks." Dragon eyes lock. Wang Xian bellowed with a murderous look. Chains shrouded the entire hall instantly, trapping everyone within. Fut! The distance was too close. It was only a few hundred meters. Before he could finish his sentence, Wang Xian's dragon claw pierced through the body of the calculation wizard again. No, no, no. Feeling his life force disappearing rapidly, his face was filled with despair and unwillingness. He had never expected such an outcome. He was only here to help the iceberg race deal with a ninth-order God Emperor. To him, it was an easy task. He had never expected that he would lose his life. Run, run, run. On the other side, the severely injured Guardian screamed in horror. We can't escape. The eyes of the three Guardians were bloodshot. Feeling the chains around them, their faces were filled with madness. Fight it out with them. Kill, kill, kill. Kingdom of God, descend. He roared crazily. His body shook as he summoned his Kingdom of God. Summoning his Kingdom of God also meant that he had given up on escaping to his own Kingdom of God. He was prepared to fight for his life. If he could fight his way out, he would have a chance to escape. If not, he would die for good. Boom, boom, boom. The arrival of the three Guardians' Kingdom of the Giant Sword caused the largest iceberg mountain of the iceberg race to let out a deafening roar. The arrival of the majestic Kingdom of God shook the entire iceberg race. On the iceberg, all the iceberg race members were shocked when they saw the sudden appearance of the majestic Kingdom of God. What's going on? What's going on? Why is there a Kingdom of God descending all of a sudden? The disciples of the iceberg race screamed in horror. The descent of their own Kingdom of God was something that had never happened before. Everyone knew what the descent of a Kingdom of God meant. Quick, let's go take a look. The expressions of the experts of the iceberg race changed as they flew over. Chapter 3069, Fight it out with us? What do you iceberg race have to fight us? Today will be the day of your annihilation. In the central palace of the largest iceberg of the iceberg race, terrifying energy swept across the entire iceberg. Cracks gradually appeared on the entire iceberg. Wang Xian stared coldly at the three Guardians of the Giant Sword who had gone a little crazy. His face was filled with a sinister look. After being hunted by the iceberg race for so long, it was time for them to pay the price. I can't accept this. I can't accept this. What kind of force are you? The three Guardians of the Giant Sword bellowed in despair. Beside him, the Guardian whose body was bitten in half by the blazing tortoise-winged beast was observing his surroundings with glistening eyes. He was terrified and wanted to escape. Their leader and the rest were all killed. Everything was over. What awaited them was the annihilation of the iceberg race. Given the terrifying strength of the other party, only death awaited them if they didn't escape. He didn't want to die. Go to hell. Wang Xian flapped his unbeginning sacred wings and attacked the three Guardians of the Giant Sword at a terrifying speed. Here, don't even think of escaping. Orokai and the rest locked their eyes on the severely injured Guardian of the iceberg race with murderous intent. Ha ha ha. You want to kill me? Even if I die, I'll take a chunk of your flesh. The three Guardians of the Giant Sword were determined to die. Ka. In the sky, the iceberg began to crack under the terrifying pressure of his god nation. Law of superpower, Sword Mountain. He gripped the giant sword in his hands tightly and slashed it forward. The terrifying attack did not hold back at all, and it directly covered a radius of more than 1 billion kilometers. Are you crazy? The severely injured protector shouted in horror when he saw the Sword Mountain engulfing everyone, including him. His expression changed drastically. Unlike the three Guardians of the Giant Sword, he had lost his fighting spirit. Wang Xian saw his attack and the 5 elements grindstone appeared around him. The 5 elements revolved and condensed into an Earth Divine Dragon. The Earth Divine Dragon circled around him and resisted the terrifying attack of the giant mountain. Bam bam bam! After passing through the attack of the Sword Mountain, Wang Xian locked his eyes on the 3 Guardians of the Giant Sword. Die, die, die. Holy Kingdom, Frozen Sword, Ice Sword World. However, just as Wang Xian flew over, the 3 Guardians of the Giant Sword let out a furious roar. The Holy Kingdom in the sky released countless ice swords that blasted down indiscriminately. A peak stage God Emperor risking his life. He isn't someone to be trifled with. Wang Xian frowned when he saw the attacks blanketing the entire space. Under this kind of attack, he could not display his speed at all. However, With the full strength of the 5 elements grindstone, the attacks of the 3 protectors couldn't hurt him at all. Get closer. Wang Xian withstood the attacks of the 3 guardians and inched closer to him. Die, die, die. You want to destroy our Ice Mountain race? You must die too. The 3rd elder waved his arm, and the divine kingdom above him surged with an incomparably violent frost power. Streaks of frost condensed into ice swords and slashed down once more. Boom, boom, boom. The iceberg below slowly crumbled under his bombardment. Those are the 3 of us. What happened? SSS, what's going on? What's going on? Someone wants to annihilate our Ice Mountain race. The disciples of the Ice Mountain race who had just flown over were horrified. This iceberg was the core of their Ice Mountain race. It was also the iceberg where their leader and the experts were. Now, it was crumbling slowly. As for their 3 protectors, they actually sent their own divine kingdoms down to attack the people below. What was going on? You don't have the right to do so. Futile struggle. Wang Xian relied on the 5 elements grindstone to close in on the 3 guardians of the giant sword. When they were tens of millions of kilometers apart, he suddenly accelerated. Above him, the yin-yang dragon board appeared and spun rapidly. Some ice swords landed on it and were immediately deflected. Swoosh. Wang Xian flew towards the 3 guardians of the giant sword at high speed. His arms turned into dragon claws and clawed at them. Ice drill, kill. Seeing Wang Xian charging at them, the eyes of the 3 guardians of the giant sword turned bloodshot. They swung their giant swords at Wang Xian. The giant sword spun and formed a terrifying ice drill. The space collapsed instantly, revealing pitch-black space cracks. At this time, 5 divine dragons rose from the 5 elements grindstone beside Wang Xian. They coiled around each other and intertwined rapidly. Rising dragon, boom, boom, boom. The 5 elements grindstone collided with the ice drill. The ice drill was sent flying backward. Wang Xian followed closely behind and clawed at the 3 guardians of the giant sword with his dragon claws. Die. A frosty force was injected from the Holy Kingdom into the body of the 3 guardians of the giant sword. He clenched his fist and punched at Wang Xian. Boom. Ka. The dragon claws collided with the ice fist. The dragon claws shone with the radiance of 8 elements and the ice fist began to crumble rapidly. Swoosh. At this time, Wang Xian flapped his unparalleled sacred wings and drew an arc across the sky. In an instant, he appeared beside the 3 guardians of the giant sword. His speed was too fast. The 3 guardians of the giant sword looked at Wang Xian, who appeared beside him, with despair in their eyes. No, the Ice Mountain race will prosper. We, the Ice Mountain race, will not perish. He roared fiercely. Today is the end of the Ice Mountain race. Wang Xian's dragon claws landed on him directly. Horrifying strength and chaotic energy rushed into his body. No. He roared with a face full of despair. Why do you want to annihilate the Ice Mountain race? Why? At this time, a voice filled with despair came from below. The devilish devil grabbed the head of that guardian and dug his hideous claws into his body. Your words are really ridiculous. Upon hearing his words, the devilish 8 limpid devils were filled with ridicule. Why do I want to annihilate the Ice Mountain race? Because you guys are courting death. Otherwise, why would I annihilate you guys? Kill. Don't leave any experts of the Ice Mountain race alive. Fart. Wang Xian grabbed the dragon claws of the 3 guardians of the giant sword and clenched them tightly as he roared. Rumble. As his voice trailed off, the iceberg that was attacked collapsed completely. The collapse of the iceberg and the fall of the guardians represented the annihilation of the entire Ice Mountain race. This is bad. This is bad. Our protectors have been killed. Someone wants to annihilate the Ice Mountain race. Someone wants to annihilate us. Our guardians are all dead. No. How could this be? Run. Run. Run now. When the experts of the Ice Mountain race heard the voices coming from the other side, their expressions changed drastically. Their eyes were filled with fear and panic. The Ice Mountain race was going to be annihilated. Their race was going to collapse. Chapter 3070. The Iceberg tribe had been annihilated, Yet they still dared to be arrogant. 1-inch iceberg tribe shall be annihilated. All of you, prepare to die. The iceberg collapsed and the 3 guardians of the giant sword were killed. At this point, other than the missing Peak Emperor God, the rest of the Peak Emperor God were all killed. Barky Demon Fiend and the rest of the Peak Emperor God disciples looked around them with menacing eyes. Their figures moved and attacked at a terrifying speed. Peak Emperor God Barky Demon Fiend was invincible in the Iceberg tribe. In addition, they had a large amount of information on the Iceberg tribe, including the location of the holy nations of some of their disciples. They swept across the Iceberg tribe quickly. Run, run, run. They are Peak Emperor God experts. Run back to your holy nations. Ah, don't kill me. Soon, the entire Iceberg tribe was in chaos, especially the disciples and tribesmen on the surrounding dozen icebergs. They looked at the sky in horror and fled frantically. Barky Demon Fiend and the other Peak Emperor God experts were being hunted down. Those with quick reflexes fled back to their holy nations, while those with slow reflexes were killed immediately. As for the Iceberg tribe members below the Emperor God realm, they did not attack. Dragon Palace would not kill innocent people. It was enough as long as they eliminated all potential threats. The rest of the people posed no threat at all. Very soon, the entire Ice Mountain race was shaken. Countless people looked at this scene in panic, looking at the sky that had suddenly changed. They watched as the Emperor God experts of their tribe were being hunted down. Moreover, in a secret place of the Iceberg tribe, there were a few holy nations of the Iceberg tribe army. When those people fled to the holy nations, they were greeted with the attack of Barky Demon Fiend. Barky Demon Fiend targeted the holy nations of the experts and wreaked havoc in the entire Iceberg tribe. All the treasures, all the resources, everything was taken away. The people of the Iceberg tribe were shivering in fear. They did not dare to breathe under the terrifying might. At this point, they still did not know which force had annihilated the Iceberg tribe. They still did not know why the other party had annihilated them. Wang Xian floated above an ice mountain and stared coldly at the surroundings. The iceberg had been destroyed. With the resources he got from the ice mountain and a peak stage God Emperor blazing tortoise-winged beast, he should be able to make another breakthrough in his strength. As Wang Xian pondered, he moved and landed on an ice mountain at the side. With a flick of his palm, an acquired spiritual treasure Frost Divine sword appeared in his hand. Buzz buzz buzz. The legendary sword continued to struggle in his hand. Wang Xian circulated the water energy on his arm and a water attribute divine dragon circled around the Frost Divine sword. Hua! With a wave of his hand, the 5 elements grindstone appeared beside the divine sword. The energy of the 5 elements wrapped around the divine sword, trying to melt it. Buzz buzz buzz. The Ice Frost Divine sword resisted fiercely. One divine dragon shadow after another entered the Ice Frost Divine sword. Wang Xian sensed it quietly. After 10 minutes, he revealed a smile. Success. However, it will take some time for the 5 elements grindstone to absorb a required spirit treasure. As he murmured, his eyes sparkled. After absorbing it, the 5 elements grindstone would receive a significant boost. Buzz buzz. The universe's AI shuddered. Wang Xian opened it and took a look. It was a message from the heart-crushing deer. Both of them had been in contact for the past few days. The heart-crushing deer had been reporting the situation over at the Gemini Celestial Emperor's side every day. 2 days ago, more than 6,000 disciples from Willow Deity Dojo had reached the lone island on the sea. The surrounding wild beasts had been cleared by the disciples. They were also preparing to enter the God Kingdom of the Gemini Celestial Emperor. Now, the heart-crushing deer had sent news that the disciples of Willow Deity Dojo were preparing to enter the God Kingdom. When Wang Xian saw the news, he hesitated for a moment. After informing Barky Devilshaw, he immediately flew towards the lone island on the sea. There were suspected to be acquired spiritual treasures in the God Kingdom of the Gemini Celestial Emperor. Treasures of this level would greatly enhance the 5 elements grindstone. With the Frost Divine sword and another acquired spiritual treasure, the 5 elements grindstone should be able to undergo a huge transformation. At that time, It would possess the destructive power of a universe supremacy. Spreading the unbeginning saint wings, Wang Xian sped away. The lone island on the sea was very far away. He used continuous teleportation along the way and it took him a day to arrive. Ever since the heart-crushing deer entered the God Kingdom, she had not sent any messages. She should have been blocked. In a day, Wang Xian arrived in front of the lone island on the sea. Even though the journey took 2 days, and many disciples of Willow Deity Dojo had already entered the God Kingdom for 2 days, Wang Xian wasn't worried. If a peak God Emperor's God Kingdom could be broken so easily, it would be too weak. When he arrived at the lone island on the sea, close to 1,000 disciples of Willow Deity Dojo had gathered around the entrance of the God Kingdom. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them and raised an eyebrow. These people were all below the 4th Order God Emperor realm. Clearly, they were afraid that they would die if they entered the God Kingdom. Hence, they stayed outside. Who is it? Wang Xian landed directly in front of the God Kingdom. When the disciples of Willow Deity Dojo saw him, they immediately warned him. It's the new disciple of our Willow Deity Dojo. It's that Wang Xian. Someone recognized Wang Xian and whispered to that disciple. Wang Xian. Upon hearing this name, that disciple's heart skipped a beat. Among the disciples, this name was like thunder piercing their ears. In a short period of time, he had killed 5 disciples of Willow Deity Dojo. He was extremely unscrupulous. Now that they saw him in person, they were still a little fearful. After all, the other party was very strong. It didn't matter if you were a disciple of Willow Deity Dojo or not. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them and headed straight for the entrance. Wang Xian, some of our brothers from Willow Deity Dojo have dealt with the wild beasts outside and paid a hefty price to enter the God Kingdom. A few of our senior brothers have ordered that no one is allowed to enter. As Wang Xian walked towards the entrance, a young man at the entrance looked at him and said plainly, "Oh, who ordered that?" Wang Xian raised an eyebrow, looked at him and asked plainly, "Our senior brothers from Longyu Peak and our young master Long Zitian said it." That young disciple replied expressionlessly, "Oh." Wang Xian replied nonchalantly. He didn't pay any attention to him and walked straight in. That young man's expression changed slightly when he saw Wang Xian ignoring him. "Wang Xian, are you looking down on our senior brothers from Longyu Peak and young master Long Zitian?" He stared at Wang Xian with a gloomy expression. "If you say another word, I'll let you die here." Wang Xian paused for a moment and cast a nonchalant glance at him. The young disciple's expression stiffened when he heard Wang Xian's words. Fear flashed across his eyes and he looked extremely embarrassed. Chapter 3071. How dare he be so arrogant after the Ice Mountain is destroyed? 2 SSS. Around the graveyard of the Gemini God Emperors, over 1,000 disciples from Willow Deity Dojo gasped when they heard Wang Xian's words. They stared at the figure in shock, their eyes filled with fear and shock. Wang Xian entered the holy kingdom of the Gemini God Emperors and ignored the rest. This guy is too arrogant. He doesn't even care about our senior brother and young master Long Zitian. Does he really think he can kill anyone he wants? Who does he think he is? Seeing Wang Xian enter the holy kingdom, that young man bellowed with an awful expression. He is indeed a bit too arrogant. The Ice Mountain race has ambushed him twice, and it seems like he escaped by using the path of falling leaves. However, that is the Ice Mountain race. If he angers our young master Long Zitian and the others, our dragon race can eliminate him in minutes. A young man walked over and said with the same gloomy expression, "Such an arrogant guy won't live for long. The Ice Mountain race will annihilate him soon. He's just a grasshopper after autumn. He must have given up on himself for being so arrogant." A middle-aged man looked at the disappearing figure at the entrance with disdain. The surrounding disciples from Willow Deity Dojo nodded slightly. Although Wang Xian wasn't weak, it depended on who he was compared to. If he really angered some of the disciples from the low-level races in Willow Deity Dojo, he wouldn't even know how he died. Wang Xian wasn't aware of the discussion behind him. If he knew, he might have killed those guys. When he heard about the dragon descendants, he already had the intention to kill them. The dragon descendants, 9 Swords race, and skeleton race were all races that the Dragon Palace wanted to annihilate. The reason why he didn't do it was because the treasures ahead were more valuable than their lives. This is the Holy Kingdom of the Gemini God Emperors. Wang Xian entered a holy kingdom and realized it was filled with seawater. He squinted his eyes and looked around. With a swift movement, Lin Fan flew forward quickly. The entrance had been cleared by the disciples of Willow Deity Dojo. Hence, there were no obstructions along the way. The entire Holy Kingdom contained a terrifying amount of energy. There were also some fish that were formed by water elements swimming around. Some of the fish attacked Wang Xian when they saw him. However, the attack power of these fishes was very weak. Some of the stronger fish had been destroyed. Gemini God Emperor, one uses a blade and the other uses a sword. The one who uses a sword is of the water attribute, and the one who uses a blade is of the fire attribute. This should be the Water God Emperor's divine nations. Wang Xian mumbled to himself as he flew deeper into the forest. Some of the buildings inside were intact, but some places had been opened. Clearly, someone had entered. Wang Xian wasn't sure how big the God Nation was, but there was a suppressive force and energy that reduced his speed by half. It was normal for one to be restricted from entering someone else's divine kingdom. There should be some treasures in the divine kingdom that have already been obtained by the disciples of the Willow Deity Dao Ground. As he continued to fly inside, he discovered that the world in front of him had changed. This side was filled with seawater, while the front was a world of flames. It was a red building with flames burning on the surface of the building. There were sculptures on the building. It looked incomparably holy. Ahead should be the Saber God Emperor's deity nation. All the treasures in the Water God Emperor's deity nation have been taken by the disciples of the Willow Deity Dao Ground. Am I too late? Wang Xian knitted his eyebrows slightly and flew forward at high speed. After flying for more than 10 minutes, there were still no treasures. Bam bam bam! Be careful. Before long, the sounds of battle came from ahead. Huh! Wang Xian was taken aback. His dragon eyes looked ahead and flew over immediately. This is. Soon, the battlefield came into view. A group of over 2,000 people was fighting with several water beasts and fire beasts. The water beasts and fire beasts were condensed from energy. Each of them possessed terrifying attack power. Behind the water beasts and fire beasts, there were two 20-meter water beasts and fire beasts. They didn't attack, but were scanning the surroundings spiritually with murderous intent. The water beasts and fire beasts looked similar to the Kirin in the universe. Behind the two water beasts and fire beasts, there were two coffins. In front of the coffins, there was a blade and a sword. The fiery red blade and the blue long sword were crossed and placed there quietly, captivating one's soul. When Wang Xian saw the blade and the sword, his eyes narrowed. Other than the two blades and the sword, there were other treasures around. Sacred beads that emitted blue and red radiance. Sacred trees planted around the two coffins. On the two sacred trees, there were blue and red fruits. Each of the treasures was exuding a fatal temptation. More than 2,000 Willow Deity Dojo disciples attacked, while some of them stood in the middle and watched with vigilance. Senior sister, watch out. From the side, a few aquatic beasts suddenly stretched out their long claws and directly attacked a middle-aged woman. The surrounding women's expressions changed, and they immediately shouted, "Watch out!" In the middle, senior brother Junzi, who had not made a move, was shocked when he saw this. A long sword appeared in his hand and he attacked the few water beasts. All of a sudden, the huge leader of the water beasts in the middle let out a furious roar just as he struck. Columns of water shot towards senior brother Junzi. Congeal. Seeing the sudden attack of the leader of the water beasts, senior brother Junzi had no choice but to change his target. Be careful, senior sister. Roar. Beside the water beasts, Mi Xin Lu was shocked when she saw her senior sister in danger. She let out a low roar and her entire body transformed. Transformation. Her body transformed into a Mi Xin Lu and a faint dragon might exuded from her body. Her pair of dragon horns unleashed a powerful attack. She leaped into the air and caught the senior sister before flying back. Blaze tortoise winged beast, block them. She quickly shouted, and the 8th Order God Emperor Realm Blaze tortoise-winged beast flew over to block the attacks of the water beasts. Hey! In the middle, the group of people who had not made a move noticed the transformation of the Mi Xin Lu and their eyes flickered. This is Flood Dragon, a divine dragon bloodline user. Long Zitian from the dragon race looked at the Mi Xin Lu with unconcealed passion in his eyes. There were also a dozen people shrouded in black robes looking at the Mi Xin Lu with glowing red eyes. This is. The dozen or so figures wielding sharp swords raised their brows when they saw the Mi Xin Lu's form. Who? Many thanks, junior sister Xin Lu. If it wasn't for your help, senior sister would have been in danger. The middle-aged woman who was saved revealed a smile and looked at the Mi Xin Lu with astonishment. Junior sister Xin Lu, return to your original form. She sensed something in her mind and said immediately. Chapter 3072, Ice Mountain had been destroyed. How dare they be so arrogant? 3 Roar roar. Roar roar. The aquatic beasts and fire beasts stopped their attacks when they saw the disciples of Willow Deity Dojo retreating. They stood guard around the Gemini God Emperor's coffin, staring coldly at everyone. Once anyone entered their range, they would launch a deadly attack. Mi Xin Lu sensed the undisguised stares from the surroundings. Her eyes flickered and she transformed into her human form. Phew, these aquatic beasts must be the result of the Gemini Celestial Emperor using the power of the God Nation to activate the sword. An acquired spiritual treasure sword can unleash terrifying attacks when activated by the remnant consciousness of the God Nation. Senior brother gentleman retreated a distance away from the attacking range of the aquatic beast leader as he spoke solemnly. Are you all right, junior sisters? As he spoke, he looked at Mi Xin Lu and the rest. I'm fine. It's all thanks to junior sister Xin Lu. The senior sister who was saved nodded her head and looked at the Mi Xin deer beside her with a face full of gratitude. Who would have expected this junior sister to possess the bloodline of the divine dragon? She's a semi-dragon. At this moment, Long Zitian stared at Mi Xin Lu and walked towards her. The other disciples of Willow Deity Dojo looked over and were puzzled. When Mi Xin Lu heard Long Zitian's voice, she looked at him coldly and ignored him. He. I wonder if junior sister would be interested in joining the dragon descendants race. If you do, I can guarantee that no one will dare to bully you. Long Zitian didn't mind that she ignored him. He smiled and continued, otherwise, you will be coveted by many races because you possess the bloodline of the divine dragon. His words were filled with a hint of warning, causing Mi Xin Lu's expression to change. You don't have to worry about that, she said coldly. With the protection of our senior brothers and sisters, no one will dare to covet junior sister Xin Lu. Otherwise, they will be our enemies. The middle-aged senior sister frowned and looked at Long Zitian. So what if they do? That Wang Xian is the enemy of our Ice Mountain race. Wang Xian's men are the enemies of our Ice Mountain race. Young Master Long Zitian, if you want this flood dragon, hand it over to our Ice Mountain race. It won't be long before our Ice Mountain race delivers it to you. At this moment, Bingling Hongtu stared coldly at the Mi Xin deer and said to Long Zitian and the others in a flattering tone. Now, the disciples of the Willow Deity Daoist grounds were all aware of Long Zitian's identity. Even the peak God Emperor disciples of the dragon descendant race in Willow Deity Dao Plaza were so polite to Long Zitian. One could imagine his status in the dragon descendant race. Currently, their Ice Mountain race was weak in the Willow Deity Dao field. If they could curry favor with Long Zitian, it might be a good thing for their Ice Mountain race. The expression of the middle-aged senior sister next to Mi Xin Lu changed, and she stared coldly at Bingling Hongtu and the others. The few female disciples of Willow Deity Dao field also had a displeased look on their faces as they stared coldly at the two of them. Senior and junior sisters, don't look at me like that. You should be clear of the hatred between us. This is a grudge between our Ice Mountain race and them. If anyone tries to stop us, they will be the enemy of our Ice Mountain race. Bingling Hongtu saw the group of female disciples staring at him and warned indifferently. Although there were many people standing on Mi Xin Lu's side, he didn't take it to heart. They were just a group of loose sand. They wouldn't dare to provoke the Ice Mountain race. Ha ha ha, The two of you from the Ice Mountain race, if you can talk nicely, then talk nicely. Threatening others isn't my style. Long Zai Tian laughed and patted Bing Ling Hongtu and the others beside him. Yes, yes. However, if she doesn't give young master Long Zai Tian face, then we won't be polite. Bing Ling Hongtu revealed a fawning expression. Around them, some people looked at Bing Ling Hongtu and the others in disdain. Behind them, the disciples of the other races looked at them indifferently. Some of them were indifferent, while others were communicating through voice transmission. Many disciples were extremely interested in a flood dragon. Being a dragon knight was the dream of many. When Mi Xin Lu heard their unscrupulous conversation, she revealed an infuriated look. She clenched her fists tightly. The group of female disciples beside her revealed sullen looks. All right, everyone. We are all disciples of Willow Deity Dojo. Let's settle the matter of the spiritual treasure of the God Nation first. Senior brother gentleman spoke with a little helplessness. Hee. As soon as he finished his sentence, a chuckle was heard. Wang Xian, who had already arrived at the back, walked over slowly. He swept his gaze across Bing Ling Hongtu and Long Zai Tian with a cold look in his eyes. The sudden laughter attracted the attention of the disciples of Willow Deity Dojo in front. When they saw Wang Xian, some of the disciples raised their eyebrows and crossed their arms to watch the show from the side. Brother Wang. When Mi Xin Lu saw Wang Xian, she was pleasantly surprised and ran over immediately. This guy, Bing Ling Hongtu and the rest felt Wang Xian's cold look and revealed a fearful look. They no longer had the path of return. If Wang Xian were to attack them, they wouldn't be able to escape. Don't worry. Beside Long Zai Tian, an old man patted Bing Ling Hongtu's shoulder gently. Yes. Thank you, senior brother. Seeing the reassured look of the old man, Bing Ling Hongtu and the rest smiled. In Willow Deity Dojo, there weren't many Peak Emperor God disciples. However, the dragon descendants had Peak Emperor God experts in Willow Deity Dojo. If the dragon descendants were on their side, they wouldn't be in any danger. I heard that the Ice Mountain tribe wants to deal with you. Wang Xian nodded at Mi Xin Lu and walked straight towards Bing Ling Hongtu and the rest with a smile on his face. They aren't good people. Mi Xin Lu said softly and followed closely behind him. Wang Xian walked forward and stopped 10 meters away from Bing Ling Hongtu and the rest. Are you the ones who said that? He lifted his head and stared at Bing Ling Hongtu and the rest. So what if we said that? Bing Ling Hongtu's expression changed as he faced the overbearing Wang Xian. Beside him, Long Zai Tian smiled at them. Bing Ling Hongtu clenched his teeth and said coldly with some confidence. Haha, interesting. The Ice Mountain tribe has been annihilated and you still dare to be so arrogant. Who gave you the courage? Wang Xian looked at them and asked with a smile. The Ice Mountain tribe has been annihilated. The Ice Mountain tribe has been annihilated. That's impossible. What's going on? Is it true? The surrounding disciples of Willow Deity Dojo were slightly shocked when they heard Wang Xian's words. Their faces were filled with doubts. Chapter 3073, The Iceberg Sect has been destroyed. How dare you be so arrogant? For inch our iceberg race has been destroyed. Bing Ling Hongtu and the rest were stunned when they heard Wang Xian's words. Their faces turned cold. Hee, our iceberg race has been destroyed. Don't tell me you killed us. Although our iceberg race isn't very strong here in the Milky Way, we have been around for billions of years. How can we be destroyed so easily? Wang Xian, even if you were to be destroyed, our iceberg race wouldn't perish. As they spoke, they stared coldly at Wang Xian. Is that so? Wang Xian chuckled. It doesn't matter if you don't believe me. Go down and accompany them. As he spoke, his figure instantly appeared in front of them, and his palm reached out to grab them. Young Master Long Zai Tian. Seeing Wang Xian's attack, Bing Ling Hongtu and the rest's faces changed and they shouted. Pa. Hee, you are all disciples of the Willow Deity Dojo. Moreover, you are my people. I don't care who you are or how arrogant you are. Keep a low profile in front of us. The moment Wang Xian attacked, Long Zai Tian's body shook. Lightning shot out from his body and condensed into a palm that grabbed Wang Xian's arm. Long Zhaitian looked at Wang Xian and said indifferently. Beside Long Zhaitian, Long Yufeng and the disciples of the dragon race watched with smiles on their faces. Long Zhaitian's bloodline is really terrifying. His current strength is only at the 8th Order God Emperor realm, but he can fight against a 9th Order God Emperor realm. His bloodline is indeed strong. I heard that Wang Xian has the strength of a 9th Order God Emperor. Fighting against Long Zhaitian and the rest is obviously a slap in the face. His strength is enough to bully some domain-level race's disciples. Some people whispered when they saw this scene. Wang Xian, don't be arrogant. And you, heart dear, you better submit to our young master Long Zhaitian. Otherwise, you will suffer a lot in the future. Wang Xian looked at Long Zhaitian's attack, heard Bingling Hongtu and the rest's words, and looked at their arrogant expressions. Buzz. His palm moved slightly, and a terrifying destructive force instantly smashed the lightning palm that was blocking him. Bang, bang. In the next moment, Bingling and Hongtu, who still had smiles on their faces, burst into pieces. Fresh blood splashed all over Long Zhaitian's body. This sudden scene caused everyone to be slightly stunned. Long Zhaitian's entire person was also somewhat stupefied. Feeling the splattered blood on his face, there was a trace of change in his expression. Trash. No one knew if he was talking about Bingling, Hongtu, and the rest, or Long Zhaitian. Probably both. When he first made his move, he wanted to see the attitude of Long Zhaitian and the others. If they attacked, Wang Xian would play along with them. You're courting death. Upon hearing Wang Xian's name, Long Zhaitian's expression changed instantly. Terrifying murderous intent erupted from his body. Bolts of lightning gathered on his body. Young Master Long Zhaitian. At the side, Long Yufeng extended his hand and pulled Long Zhaitian. His eyes revealed a grave and vigilant expression as he transmitted his voice. Young Master Long Zhaitian, I'm afraid his strength is not weaker than mine. Crackle. Upon hearing Long Yufeng's words, Long Zhaitian's eyes narrowed slightly and the lightning on his body emitted a violent sound. He stared coldly at Wang Xian and revealed a sinister smile. Interesting, interesting. You are the first person to not give me, Long Zhaitian, any face. Today, I'm here for the acquired spiritual treasure. I can't play with you. You will regret your actions just now very soon, because you will have to pay with your life. As Long Zhaitian spoke, he extended his hand and wiped the fresh blood on his body, making it disappear. He looked at Wang Xian plainly, as though he was narrating a very ordinary matter. I'm also here for the spiritual treasure in front. Wang Xian wore a smile on his face as he looked at Long Zhaitian calmly. Ka. Upon seeing Wang Xian's indifferent expression, Long Zhaitian's eyes were filled with anger. Good, good. He said coldly as he turned his head to look at the coffin. This. Wang Xian actually killed another 2 disciples of Willow Deity Dojo. He has killed a total of 7. He is too arrogant and unscrupulous. He doesn't give any face to the dragon descendants. First, he offended the Ice Mountain race. Now, he offended Long Zhaitian and the rest. But that Wang Xian is really strong. He doesn't seem to be a 9th Order God Emperor. He might be a peak God Emperor. Some people discussed softly as they glanced at Wang Xian from time to time. Wang Xian's sudden attack had indeed shocked them. In an instant, he killed Bingling, Hongtu, and the rest. Blood splattered all over Long Zhaitian. Some of the experts from Willow Deity Dojo could vaguely sense that Wang Xian's strength should be at the peak God Emperor realm. Everyone, let's attack together. The treasure belongs to those who are capable. Long Yofeng's cold gaze swept across Wang Xian before he looked at the surrounding disciples of Willow Deity Dojo. All right, those who are capable will have it. It all depends on their own capabilities. An old man beside him who was holding a strange-looking tree nodded his head. Agreed. That acquired spiritual treasure belongs to me. I'll say the ugly words first. If anyone tries to snatch it from me, don't blame me for being impolite. On the right, an old man shrouded in black robes with blood-red flames in his eyes spoke plainly. It all depends on your own capabilities. Long Zhaitian sneered. Sell everything. If anyone wants to be the last to strike, don't blame us for being impolite. Long Yufeng said coldly as a terrifying aura surged from his body. Go back and wait for me at Willow Deity Dojo. Wang Xian said to the Mi Xin deer. Huh? Mi Xin Lu looked at Wang Xian in astonishment. Her face was filled with astonishment as she nodded her head slightly. He laughed and didn't say anything else. He looked around and the corner of his mouth curved into a smile. Since he had made such arrangements, it was obvious that he had something important to do. Attack! An old man bellowed. The disciples of Willow Deity Dojo started moving. Senior brother gentleman, Long Yufeng, the old man shrouded in black robes, and the old man holding the strange-looking tree. The four of them led the way and flew towards the location of the treasure. When the leaders of the water and fire beasts saw them, their eyes were filled with coldness. They let out a roar and charged towards them. Scram! All of them shouted. Their eyes were filled with killing intent as they attacked the leaders of the water and fire beasts. Rumble! Wang Xian's body shook as he charged forward. Terrifying energy gathered in his body as he attacked the water and fire beasts. Behind him, Long Zitian and the rest of the Ninth Order God Emperor realm experts followed closely. Everyone wanted to fight for a postnatal spiritual treasure. Chapter 3074, Snatching Treasures and Killing Up. When the leaders of the water beasts and fire beasts saw the group of leaders charging towards them, they revealed a ferocious look. Their bodies shook as horrifying swords and sabers spun around them. They lifted their heads and brandished their long sabers and swords towards Wang Xian and the group. Crackle! Long Yufeng shook his body and swung his arm forward. With a purple divine weapon on his arm, he blasted forward. A lightning dragon appeared and attacked the sabers and swords in front of him. At the side, the old man with the strange tree of God, the black-robed old man from the skeleton clan, and senior brother gentleman launched their attacks at the same time. Waves of horrifying energy collided with the attacks of the leaders of the water beasts and fire beasts. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The entire space exploded immediately. Horrifying energy gathered at the center, preventing anyone from advancing. Roar, roar. At this time, two roars were heard. The leaders of the water beasts and fire beasts, which were originally 20 meters in size, grew to 1,000 meters in size. They carried sharp sabers and swords and attacked them. Wang Xian waved his arm and a huge, grayish dragon claw struck at the leader of the fire beasts. Roar! Fire sabers spun around the fire beast and slashed at Wang Xian's dragon claw. The horrifying flaming saber radiance caused the dragon claw to crumble rapidly. It leaped, opened its mouth, and shrouded the area in front of it with flames. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows slightly when he sensed the horrifying attack. He moved and dodged immediately. Senior brother gentleman and the rest also retreated immediately. The attacks of the two leaders of the water beasts and fire beasts were too strong. TSK, without the control of the Gemini Celestial Emperor, we're just relying on the remaining strength of the God Nation. Everyone, don't hold back. The black-robed old man looked at the water beasts and fire beasts. He swept his gaze across the surroundings with a cold look in his eyes. Bloom. The old man with the strange tree of God lifted his head and tossed the tree of God into the air. Branches appeared out of nowhere and attacked the leaders of the water beasts and fire beasts. At the same time, the branches condensed and formed a hole that was connected to the front of the coffin. Thunder beast roar. When Long Yufeng saw someone bring out their strength, he stopped holding back. With a wave of his hands, lightning beasts flew out from his arms and attacked the leader of the water and flame beasts. A gentleman is peerless. Senior brother gentleman shook the long sword in his hand, and a long sword appeared beneath him. The countless long swords around him condensed into a long dragon, which also attacked the leader of the fire and water beasts. Skeleton, eternal. The black-robed old man waved his arm, and a black skull with blood-red flames appeared where its pupils should be. 5 elemental river. Wang Xian followed their attacks. With a swing of his arm, a grayish destructive force swept across. In the blink of an eye, the terrifying attacks of the 5 people engulfed the water beast and fire beast leader. Hua La, the acquired spirit treasure is mine. At this time, a pair of wings suddenly appeared on Long Zitian's body. The wings flickered with the power of lightning. At this moment, his speed was abnormally terrifying. Around him, a lightning symbol floated above his head, looking extremely mystical. However, at this moment, Wang Xian suddenly felt a throbbing in his body, and an extremely strong suction force was felt. He immediately looked towards Long Zai-Tian's wings. This is. His eyes were flashing with passion. This was the aura of the sacred feather. The aura of the sacred feather of the thunder attribute. Long Zai-Tian had the sacred feather of the thunder attribute. A part of the unbeginning saint wings. Radiance flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. As he looked ahead, the unbeginning saint wings gradually appeared behind him. The water and fire beasts met their terrifying attacks, and the attacks dispersed the flames and water on their bodies. But soon, the leader of the water and fire beasts gradually turned into a long sword and a long saber. The long saber and long sword were filled with a murderous aura. They were incomparably dazzling as they slashed at the void. They were not slashing at the group, but at the front of the coffin. A saber and sword scar that looked like a sting but was only 4 meters wide appeared. Bam bam bam! Long Zai-Tian, senior brother gentleman, and the rest, who had just approached, had a terrifying collision with the saber and sword scar. The defense in front of them collapsed rapidly. Shit! What kind of creepy attack is this? Long Zai-Tian bellowed with an awful expression. That's the supreme saber and sword scar. This acquired spiritual treasure is called the saber and sword scar. One of the 9 swords race's 9th order God Emperor realm expert spoke with a solemn expression. We should be able to get through this defense and get the acquired spiritual treasure inside. Senior brother gentleman said with a grave expression as he watched his saber radiance crumble upon coming into contact with the saber and sword scar. The water and fire beasts transformed and slashed out saber and sword scars, blocking their path. This saber and sword scar, just as they stopped, Wang Xian's eyes flashed with light. Wang. The 5 elements grindstone hovered around him. He shook his body and the yin-yang dragon coil spun, covering the 5 elements grindstone. Whoosh! Wang Xian flapped his wings and flew towards the saber and sword scar at a terrifying speed. Seeing someone barging into the saber and sword scar, Long Zai-Tian, senior brother gentleman, and the rest quickly looked over. Ka. When Wang Xian charged over, the yin-yang dragon coil crumbled. However, the 5 elements grindstone spun and converted all the energy into the earth divine dragon power. The heavy earth aura covered the 5 elements grindstone. Wang Xian placed his palm on it. 8 brilliance dragon scale. Layers of dragon scales appeared around the 5 elements grindstone. Wang Xian stood on it and continued his assault. Bam bam bam! The 8 brilliance dragon scale began to crumble rapidly. As the dragon scales disappeared, the saber and sword scar continued to assault the defense of the 5 elements grindstone. Roar! A deep dragon roar came from the 5 elements grindstone. Wang Xian's eyes lit up as he flapped his unbeginning saint wings. Whoosh! He passed through the saber and sword scar and flew towards the saber and sword in front of the coffin. Wung wung! As he came to the front of the saber and sword, he swung his arm and his palm turned into a dragon claw, grabbing the saber and sword. Wung wung wung! Wang Xian waved his arm and dragon shadows wrapped around the saber and sword scar. The dragon shadows coiled around the saber and sword scar and suppressed it with all its might. Success! A smile appeared on his face. Roar! Roar! When he kept the saber and sword in his hand, the saber and sword scar disappeared. The saber and sword that the leader of the fire and water beasts had transformed into disappeared into Wang Xian's hand. This saber and sword is much stronger than the frost divine sword. Wang Xian felt the aura from the saber and sword and felt a little excited. What? Oh no, he got the saber and sword scar. Everything happened in a split second. Behind them, when Long Yufeng, Long Zai-Tian, and the others saw this scene, their expressions changed drastically.